and they can hear my microphone. G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm going okay. It's another week over. That's always good.
I am teething issues again, as usual, but we shall end. Right. I did fix the Twitch issues. Thank you to PS4 Pete. He very early this morning went through a test stream with me. That when I logged on this morning, after all the computer had been shut down and everything, was still running on YouTube. That I just closed just before this started. But it was all private, so you can see it on YouTube. It was totally fine.
And just because Pete was such a helpful guy,
Join.
It's the new skin colour. It's a new skin colour. So join.
Yeah, we did that. Oh, we did do that in the episode that we did last night.
We did.
Guess what? You've prompted me. We did actually forget something. And it wasn't that we forget. I and you completely didn't see it, right? So I will, let's go to the browser. We'll do it live as we do. So when you go into, I believe it was this, the Fight for Life, right? No, it was Workers Week, wasn't it? Shit, wrong one. Do it alive. Go back to the right one. Captains of Industry. Here we go. Right.
Yep.
So when we got down to where we normally think is like essentially the bottom of the screen, the sneaky little buggers, they added some extras, right? And it keeps going. All right, now it's not going to. All right. Load. Why didn't it load?
Oh.
It's not loading this time. I'm going to try it again.
But I did see the waves for the Pioneer, which we didn't see was limited. When it first came up, I thought, oh, it's not limited, but
that was one of
I just saw waves. I just saw waves for the Pioneer, so yep.
That was one of them, but that's not what I'm. Why the hell did I put it? Has it moved again? Maybe it was on the other screen. Look, I'm going to open the other one. Hang on. In case to make sure I'm just not going. I know it was there, and now I can't see it. Maybe it was on. And it was on this one. Because it was, okay, so we didn't miss it. It was on this. But they had, besides the cool pack we talked about, they had this kind of not so cool pack. But they also had this, which is a limited war bond. So it's $30. But you get essentially a suit of armor, a Corsair skin, and the Vault gun with essentially all kind of like black and gold skin. Because the bones on it are a bit ridiculous. They glow. And it's also, they've changed the picture now, but in the picture last night that I had on my computer, and I know it's changed because I went over it with PS4 Pete. That's how. I'm going to double check it. I'm going to double check that I'm not insane. Have they changed it? I believe they have changed it since yesterday. Have changed it. All right. So the original picture, see that armor, the shoulder, they were made of bone. They were not made of armor. So it was different on the website to what it was. I was going insane, but I'm not going insane. So they had changed it. And now it's kind of like a gold coloring. And I was like saying to Pete, oh, this is not the same as the one I've got to go. But yeah.
I've got to admit, I don't like that art. It just.
Yeah, it's not going to speak to everyone. But I'm going to be honest, the whole reason I picked it up, and you're probably going to hate me, is the gun has a cool skin, and I got access immediately to the gun. I didn't have to go find it. I didn't have to do any of that.
Am I not surprised?
And I like black and gold. You know, I've got a lot of the Kern share skin.
You do, but
I don't particularly like that
armor. The second
you
said gun with a nice skin, I went, yep.
Yeah. So obviously I don't have a Corsair, but it's a nice Corsair skin as well. It's like an executive Corsair skin. But the thing,
I gotta admit, the Corsair skin does look good, but the armor suit, the fact that it glows. Hey, shoot at me!
The reason I'm bringing it up though is if it stays like other limited things, because it's a limited time thing, right? And it may increase in value quite significantly. We've seen this before with things that they bring up for a very brief time. Now, I'm not saying that it won't eventually appear in game and you can get it through a rep grind, but it's these types of things that really shoot up in value. We've seen it before where they were just offered for one type of thing and then they're gone. And so the whole thing that I wanted to bring up is because the way that this was kind of a little bit hidden at the bottom of the screen, like as I said, me and Algared didn't even see it. And we saw this, by the way, right? We had to go to the store to find that. We just did not find that. Completely missed it. Actually, I've now just realized, Algared, there may be ships here. There is ships here that we completely bloody missed. Oh my god!
Well,
we need to do another. We need to do another one.
Another. Well, they were part of. We didn't miss them because we were looking at the things related
Workers'
to
Week.
Workers' Week, not related to
the event. Whatever this is called.
Event.
What's it called? It's got
the orbital assault or something like that. So we didn't miss that.
Orbital assault, yeah.
So we didn't, we didn't miss the stuff related to Workers' Week. We just didn't cover orbital assault.
Well, we could probably do. Is there any? There's actually not really anything that interesting here, to be honest with you.
Probably the biggest thing we did miss or didn't catch on the Workers' Week was the actual wave times for Pioneer. Yeah. When we saw the price, I was thinking, oh, wow, the Pioneer's up. That mustn't be limited anymore.
Yep.
And so, but that I think comes down to us just being absolutely RS last night.
We were very knackered last night, and I hope I emphasized that in the video, because we were very, very. I knew we were going to stuff something up, and I think we did stuff one or two things up. I'm going to be quite honest with you.
I know from comments in the chat we missed a couple of the other packs that had 20,000 UEC.
Okay.
So there were at least one other. I think the Intrepid had a 20,000 UEC. But
normally we would wait, wouldn't we? But we've got other things to do this weekend, like the Golem and the Geo, and we are going to struggle to get them all done. By the way, just as a bit of a side note, it probably looks like John is double booked for that time we were talking about. So I might just try and do a time with him late at night. So you're off the cuff for the Golem. Me and you will probably just do the Geo on our own, okay? So maybe you and I can do the Geo on that time. I'll work out a time to do. Pull in some.
Speaking of that, I did actually spend money on the big Golem starter pack because it is just such a good deal. I was actually thinking I'll buy 2 or 3 and give them away.
Yeah.
The downside of that is it is limited to 1 per account. So, and I know they've done that in the past, but if you're buying them to give to people, you basically have to buy one, give it away, and then if you want to buy another one, then buy it. So that's a bit. I found that frustrating.
Oh wait, you can actually buy more than one, but you got to go buy one, give it away, buy one, give it away.
It's limited to 1 per account. So
fair enough.
I'm assuming it's registering that you've got one in your account, and so it's blocking you unless it's saying, oh, you've already bought one, you can't buy another one. So I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. So I had a lot of people asking us, were we surprised by the $60? I think the reply I gave was, no, they said, were we shocked? And I said, no, we were surprised, but welcomed it. And I think the thing that kind of gave me a little bit of the tip of the hat is the guy that you and I talked to. He didn't say it was going to be cheaper, but he said, I think you'll be happy with the price. And that kind of told me that it was cheaper. And I was like, okay, so how cheap is this going to be? And again, if you got, I don't know how much you guys follow me. I'm not expecting you to stalk me or anything. Like I'm not, this is not a big head moment here. But during the week, if you'd seen me on a couple other streams like Pissball Pete and Star Jump, I basically got, like, I said 145 to 125. With talking to people, they were changing my mind as well other things that were moving in the background, and I got down to about $90. That's where me, Grim, even Griffin that I talked to, he thought around the Nomad, the whole A, those advanced starter prices. Yep. And I think if you kind of think about that and then add the fact that it's essentially Drake, you could see why it would be the bottom of those advanced starter prices.
Well, I know I was always wanting to lean the lower price. And, as I said, the closer it is to that prospector price, the better you'd expect the components to be.
Yeah.
The further down it is, the lesser components would be. And I was really hoping it was down that end, not because it's Drake, just because it was a starter ship, and we already had the prospector as kind of this next tier up. So I'm rather happy with that. The $60 was lower than I would have expected, because I was expecting again $90 around that. But yeah, the $60 is good. So.
Right, I've just realized I need to get the bot up, and I also set the bot up on this piece. Crap, I need to do that. Right.
Yeah, because that would be a problem.
Literally doing it live. Hang on. I need folder. Weird obscure name.
It is.
Algared, do you want to tell them a little bit your thoughts on what happened with the Geo? Because I know you didn't really get to look at it.
Well, I was looking at it before.
Yeah.
Before the game. I'm not sure what point you're speaking to, but I was.
Where you had to go
around in
and you
Geo.
just dumped it in the middle of nowhere. That's what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, I literally did have to go. I was X had pulled it up. I was playing around with it, and then I had to literally go. We're talking. I said, "No, I've got to go, mate. I'm being called." And it was just one of those situations where it doesn't matter. Just dump it. But this morning was the same. I was playing around with the Geo and had it in the back of a cutter, and had to just dump it and go. So. Unfortunately, that's the story of my life. So,
okay, pin to start. I found it running now. Okay.
And bot.
Okay, she's working.
Okay, the bot should be up.
At least she's not crashing.
Yep, that's a good thing. We hope it doesn't crash.
I just realized I might have.
Oh, right. There it goes. From YouTube.
I'm gonna restart it because.
Questions for Steve, so that's okay.
Done. Good. All right. Cool.
All right.
Easy. 3 questions there. So yeah, please get your questions in.
Quick show.
So what I wanted to talk about in regards to the Geo and the. I did invite John on. I don't know if he's around. So if John Citizen raised his head, chat, let me know, because he's obviously. I went out of my way to take him out last night when I should have gone to bed. I really went out of my way because I really wanted to get his thoughts on it. To essentially to beat it to the punch, words to the effect of it is excellent for the price as an introductory starter to the game. It is excellent. You can he was actually surprised what he could do with it. He is quite an advanced user, put it in perspective, and he was cracking. I think he cracked up to a 14,000 rock with it, which is quite high if you know anything about that, right? And he all he had on it was the what I put on it, which was a Stampede and an XTLLR, and I think eventually you won't be able to put the LRs on there or the extra large ones on there, but you can at the moment because they don't have the size restraints. So by putting that on it, it gave it a much bigger green. And he was because of that, he was able to crack some things that you couldn't crack. I think it might have a little bit of trouble with Quantanium, only because in my testing, it had a very narrow green when using it Quantanium. But John and I had a lot of trouble even finding a rock. It took us an hour and a half to find rocks because of ghost rocks. I know those of you that have been on the server yesterday would know that they were really bad, and the only one we ended up getting working was rocks out in space, so essentially around yellow where we were at the time, and stuff like that. But once we actually found something he could actually mine, he was then able to assess it.
John is probably one of the best miners I know. He just has a knack for it.
He's also extremely bloody lucky. It is insane to watch.
Yep. But I imagine when you're lucky at something like that, after a while, it just becomes innate for you to just find those things, just because you're coming across them so often. So, but he certainly is very skilled at mining.
Okay, Hook is very mad at me because apparently I'm not owning that I said it was $140. Actually, if you heard me talk a little bit earlier, Hook, I actually did say in the video, yes, I said I thought it was going to be $125 to $145. But as the week went along and I was talking to people, my thoughts on it could drop. Like once they dropped the Golem video saying it essentially had a bespoke laser, that really dropped the price for me. Like quite a lot. It dropped it down to, as I said, when I was talking to Grim and Griffin, it dropped it down to essentially $55 to $90. And I did also say in the video that we could realistically say the ballpark for this thing was $55 to $145. So depending on how you actually look at how I said it, it is within the range I said in the video. But yeah, I did say it was $145 at its peak. But again, if you go back through what happened over the course of the week, that's why I readjusted my prices. Believe it or not, I do live in the background when this show is not going on. But yeah, I will totally own it. I did say $145 up to that in the video. Yeah, 100%. But as the week went on, that changed.
And I think, look, I think based on what we knew from, and we're basing this kind of going on what we'd seen with the Prospector and the Fortune. Was it the Fortune? Yep.
Yes.
And we were going, okay, those two are exactly the same, but we can't tell what the difference is. These two look the same, they've got the same target, they're miners. We can't really play around with it at the moment. At the most, we expect it to be at that. And we're saying the more the components and abilities are closer to the Prospector, it'll be up at that price. The further away it is, it'll be dropped down.
Well, I think you would agree with me. Just as an example on that Algared, I'm kind of surprised it's exactly the same cargo amount as the Prospector. That does surprise me.
But I think that the fact that it's lower price comes into, you know, and I know we talked about if it's got a bespoke laser, if it's got less components, if its components are outside like fighters. They were all factors. We were saying they're going to pull the price down, but we couldn't say for certain what that was. And I know we talked about that, and we said the range is going to be, at most, we're putting at the same price as the Prospector, as the as the Prospector, and then down at the other end, we're saying the more it's like a fighter, the cheaper it should be.
Yeah. So Hook 2005. I don't know if he's trying to say sorry or whatever, but he gave 10 gifted subs that went to Joe Zero. Rin Zirilla, I'm going to butcher these names. Cantos, Drink C, Fenry 84, Gamby, Husky Bear, Block JT, Brett 67, Wolf Blitzer, and Mopar 225. So make sure you thank you for those and enjoy.
So thank you for those subs, Hook. Most appreciated.
But I'm not expecting like a lot of viewers today because obviously the patch just came out. So I do hope you guys are enjoying it. I have enjoyed it on the PTU. It has actually been quite a smooth patch. So I'm noticing it running really well. Sorry, Algared?
The desync at the moment is very bad, but it will improve.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that we all kind of groan a little bit when they first drop, because they drop them on a Friday. But then I don't know about you, Algared, but I'd rather have it in its buggy state than have to wait 3 or 4 days. I'm just that way. Like, but maybe putting it to live is not the wisest thing. Maybe leave it on PTU if it's desyncing, and then release it on a Monday.
Grim is saying that the Golem also has shorter range than the Prospector, so that's another factor.
As in the laser, or do you mean the fuel? The laser is incredibly short. I'd say at most it's double, like, you know, essentially twice the length of the body without the beam sitting on the laser. You know, the rod. I'm not trying to say the laser beam. I mean the beam of the metal piece. Yeah, but you get me. But yeah, it is incredibly short. And John did pick up on that. To the point that when he was picking up rocks, you know, normally you can sit back and just pick up all the rocks. You actually had to fly up to a lot of them, because the other thing is it actually does blast rocks apart a lot more. It's kind of like more violent when it pops things apart. But yeah, we'll go through that.
So factors there are spread the rocks apart when it blows them. But also, if you overcharge a rock and it explodes, because you're so much closer, that's going to impact more damage to you. And if you've got less shields, there is significant danger, there is significant risk in that ship, which kind of makes it a horrid ship for a beginner or a starting ship, and yet it gives the starters something to learn. But if you become an expert miner on a golem with those limitations, imagine how much better you'll be on a prospector or a mole, just because you've got the better equipment.
Grim, so, if you want, Grim, jump in and join us in recording. More than happy to return the favor for us dropping on yours the other week.
Yep.
You're almost a free invitation. Jump in whenever you want, type of thing. If you want to come join us and whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, most happy for you. I was almost going to say that myself, but I got distracted.
That happens with Algared and Pretty Colors. It happens a lot.
That's right. There's lots of there's now 2 chat streams on either side, and they've all got the lovely little coloured icons.
Yeah, I have. So for those of you who don't know too, I did get a new PC and it's all up and running. And I've had to do that twice. Once, obviously, because of the hack, and then like literally a week later, I got a whole new PC. So I had to do it again, which is why I've had all these teething issues, because I've had to go through it twice essentially. But I learned a lot doing the first one, so obviously I was able to do that and then improve on it again when I did the second one. But the advantage to you guys, I guess, is, man, some of the stuff we can like in game now is just so smooth. And I've got a more powerful processor, so essentially I do technically have the old computer as a streaming PC, but I haven't got that set up yet because I've got another thing coming for that to fix that. But at the moment, this computer can just essentially brute force it and go into the game, stream to Algared, and even play a preview that doesn't even hitch, where on the other computer, sometimes I had to turn off the preview to Algared and turn off the preview to the computer itself to get a recording to work. So it is really improved, and I hope you recognize it going forward. You don't have to, but it's just a nice to have. Actually, while I'm thinking of it, Algared, we've got a Mustang to draw for that video.
We do.
Can someone please remind me? We'll do it at the end, because that gives you guys a chance to enter as well. So towards the end of the stream, I'm going to go to the video we did with Morph. I'll just open that real quickly so you guys.
Yeah, just so you guys can see and remember that if you put a comment on there, you will be able to be in the running for the Mustang.
So this one here with the big worm that we did with Morph, you just have to leave a comment. Obviously, if you like and subscribe, that's an advantage too. But you'll go into, I even went to the extent of putting an image in that showed you what was in the pack. So this is what you're getting. It's quite a nice pack. So it's a unique skin for the Mustang, the racing one, the racing suit, the gun, lifetime insurance. So it's not a pack you see a lot. It's more of a custom pack, which is kind of cool. And it's a Gamma, not a regular Mustang either. So it really is a racing one. I do expect though someone's going to take this and upgrade it to something else, but you still get to keep all the items in the API. So either way, it's a nice to have. And I'm going to be honest, Algared, do you have the Amiga?
Yeah.
So you and I have the Amiga. So you and I use the Amiga a lot as an A to B ship. It's really handy if you're just going up to a station or something like that. Really quick and zippy. Not so great in the warp anymore, because starter ships don't have the best warp drive, but it does have a competition one, so it is still quick compared to most starters though. But just around a planet and up and down to a station, it's a really good A to B ship if you are not racing. And also because it's rare, me and Algared have it because that red one from it. There is rumors actually of them possibly doing that again, by the way. I don't know if you've heard about that.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. Be interesting to see. I don't mind some of those collabs, because it's interesting to see what the company they collab with sees, how they'd see their product translated into a ship. So the Razor was,
I thought you were going to say what they see in the game, and I'm going to go, money!
No, but like how they see their product translated. So the Razor was a fast, sleek, stealthy, quiet Inforunner.
remove the space. That is the coolest attempt at spam I've ever seen on Twitch. That's so good, man. That's so clever. You know, that's so clever. Bang, ban. There you go. Get the hell out of here. But that was clever though. Like it had the link and said remove this space. Oh wow. I have to pay that one. Yeah, we removed the space between your ears. Anyway.
Yep. And then when you look at the AMD graphics card one for the Amiga, that was the idea of fast, crisp, clear graphics, and then fast, crisp, clear racer. So you know, it's going to be the fastest of the graphics cards. And so I kind of like the way they kind of.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Kind of do that.
I'm gonna make it full screen and get rid of the ad banner. Can hear Grim in the background. How you doing, Grim?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're good.
I'm exhausted. I'm on like 4 hours sleep. I had many things to get done, and I got many more things to get done. But we'll get there. It's
always when you're the most like worn out that CIG drops ships and a patch.
Well, you were sick this week too, weren't you? Like I saw you on stream.
I was like,
you still sound a bit under the weather, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a little sick, recovering, but you know, getting better every day.
Yeah. It's just because I after the Misfortune and the Vulture and trying to tell the difference between those two, I was running myself ragged, and then it was like this time around I'm not going to be that. I'm going to go in and like get other people look at it with me, and because it's a minor, I just was like, John, you need to look at this. You need to tell me about it. Because John just like there's nobody I know that knows it better, and he's just really good at that stuff. And I have no doubt down the line when the game is more flushed out, he will be the person we turn to do all the mining guides. But I'm going to try and find people like him too for salvage and whatever other ones that pop up, because the thing that, well, we've said it a few times now, the game is so big now, nobody can know all of it. Like essentially me and Algared will be like these, and I don't know if yourself or whatever, but from our Inforunners group, we'll be like the jack of all trades. And then we will kind of find other people who talk about specific areas. And that'll be their thing. And we'll just bring them in for them to talk about it and give them all the credit, their time in the sun and all that type of thing. Then kick it back to the darkness. No, I'm just kidding. But you get my point, right? So
now,
there's so much legacy information in this game. It goes back so far. It's just unreal. Even when I've researched a topic for a show, like let's say repair gameplay, there's repair articles on Spectrum from CIG going back like it's just 2016. It's just so much you have to comb through. It's a challenge.
And that happens a lot, and a lot of people, unfortunately, we see that a lot with more newer content creators that come in, and that's where they make the mistakes. They make assumptions because they haven't read all the content, and if you kind of, you know, when you're doing speculation and you miss one little piece and it throws the thing completely off, it's essentially that, Grim. So you've now done one. Sorry, Algared, I know you're trying to say something. Go ahead.
It's the same with the lore. Like the lore has now got so depth, so long in the tooth and so wide, it's just hard to keep it all in and even remember it. I'm going to slightly change the topic since you've got the screen up for the video we did with Morph. With you know, yes, it's got a couple of thousand views, but for one of our normal videos, that's still low. And we thought this was a great video.
Yeah.
And so if you guys haven't watched it,
I'm going to be honest though, Algared. The people that watch us on stream are probably the people that have watched it.
They probably are. And if you haven't given it a like, give it a like, because it gives us a gives me a warm fuzzy feeling. So
essentially what Algared's trying to explain is videos that me and him seem to enjoy making or get stuff out of, like when we get enjoyment out of an episode, and not to say we don't get enjoyment out of doing this, but the ones that are kind of like an epiphany level stuff, because this was an epiphany level episode, we don't get those very often, like maybe one a year. And I'm going to be honest, we probably haven't had one in 1 or 2 years at this point, so it'd been a while since we'd had one. In fact, when Morph comes on, we seem to get them a lot because he's just pulls stuff out of us in the way he talks and stuff. And I don't think he does it intentionally. He just thinks differently to other people, but he's willing to sit there with us and take a lot of time, and these really cool things shake out. So this actually started out with the stuff we explained at the start of the video, where I was talking to Algared. I said, I had this idea what if you had the quasi-grazer, right? And we know that you have different variants of it. So like in the snow, they have hair. In the desert, they probably have extra skin. So they have essentially in a normal one, you get a normal amount of leather. But then when you go to the snow, you get the leather and you get the hair. And then when you go to the desert, you probably get extra leather because it's this, or a super different type of leather. So essentially what that then become is they know that they talked about the Valakar, for example. You put it in different environments. They showed like a blind one when it was deep under. They showed this swamp one. So actually, it then gave a reason for why you would want to introduce creatures to different environments. And that essentially became a part of the science tree. And so this episode morphed from that to this is science, because it was just an area of science that we'd never ever thought or speculated on. And I think if you've ever wondered what science is, this is the first time we've ever stumbled on an area of science, because that's a question, right?
Or an area where science could be really developed. And the thing I picked on, even when we were first talking, is the idea of taking two different types and breed them to get, trying to breed them together to get a different species, because we see that we see that with dogs and cats and
it's all speculation, but it's connecting dots to things that they've said, right? So again, I know you as well, Grim, follow a lot of this stuff, but have you heard a lot about science? Like there isn't other than kind of farming and agriculture, there's not a lot, is there? Right? Oh, and the glider as well. Sorry.
Yeah, I did a lot of research into science when I did that Endeavor Shipyard episode, and I went through all the modules and stuff, and it was really interesting. And you can tell that some of it is going to have to change based off where these blueprints go, and researching blueprints, crafting tiers, and stuff like that. And I do think there'll be a direct correlation to tiers of things when you're talking about farming and animal tending, whatever the word for that is. I think that not only are there going to be unknown combinations that you can get through various environmental changes, but I think there's going to be then tiers of that, of quality levels of the resources you pull from that. But even more broadly speaking, I look at, a lot of people talk about the exploration gameplay loop. The exploration gameplay loop to me is just one part of science. It's all centered around discovery, right? The whole point of science gameplay is discovery, and that's
that's what we found with this, because you would then have to actually go out and kind of play mad scientist and kind of like, because you know how you can make atmospheres in the biodome, you could make the atmosphere of a planet, or just sit there and like cruel animal testing essentially on this animal and see what pops out. And then when you find a setting that pops out, you could essentially then go search for the planet that has those settings. You see where I'm going, right? Like, it just all of a sudden, like, it was this boom, like you could just see, right, like what are all the things that could happen? Or like you could have this peaceful butterfly that you release on a certain planet and it turns into like a demon flying butterfly that like decides to nest eggs in people's brains or whatever.
That gives new reason to the idea of a new definition to the butterfly effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just picked a butterfly. You pick any creature.
And also, to me, learning more about farming, learning more about the animal stuff, but also seeing like the Planet Tech V5 or whatever thing at CitizenCon and stuff, where they went over how different resources will be spread amongst the planets, and they're going to, the biomes and all that kind of stuff. What it says to me about exploration, for example, because for me, sometimes I always correlate this stuff to ships, because ships are going to be a primary way that we interact with those gameplay loops. For me, I'm looking forward to hearing more about scanning, actually, because ultimately scanning is going to have to be able to tie into a lot of that stuff related to science. We're going to need to be able to go to planets, scan for living, signs of living creatures on there. We're going to need to be able to scan for resources, different types of, oxygen levels and stuff. We're going to need to be able to like figure out certain things about these planets, which are then going to tie into, for example, if we do have a certain plant on our farm on some ship, we're going to need to know where to take that, where it's not all just some random thing. We're going to need to know how to go out to a place, scan it, figure out the attributes that you learn from a scan and how those attributes will affect something. So that's the whole science gameplay loop is one I'm really fascinated by. I can't wait for them to go deeper into what that is at some point.
Well, me and Algared have been saying for a long time, scanning is super important. We actually think it's the thing that's going to really kick this game off, just from the basic core gameplay loop. But scanning is one of those gameplay
it will
elements
affect everything.
That affects everything. Yeah. Sorry, Algared.
I mean, it affects. Yeah,
I can even see scientists going in and finding a scat of the animals in an area before you've even found them. And then analyze, doing the analysis of that to work out, oh, that's a carnivore, that's a plant eater, that's a...
Anyone else seeing Old Man Hurston just shoveling through shit? Like I can... and then I walk along and I'm Malcolm from Jurassic Park. That's one big pile of shit.
Yep. Well, Old Man Hurston, I have often said, I see... he wants to turn Hurston into the breadbasket of Stanton. To do that, he needs to be a farmer. So, he's a cattle baron.
Now I can see him as the guy with the pitchfork. That.
No.
Look, he's even got the vest on. Look,
he's a cattle baron.
It's the guy with the pitchfork and the old woman behind him. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I think too, for those that wonder, like, when we'll see a lot of that stuff, I really think a lot of that is so closely tied in to crafting, because a lot of that farming and animal husbandry, it's really just crafting with a different skin, if that makes sense to me. So we really won't see a lot of that, I think, until we have crafting.
I think crafting will actually come a lot more with salvage and refining type materials, and so the ores and stuff, and base building will be the first version. And I then think once they introduce a lot more animals, then it'll move off into the biological side, so to speak. I will say one thing, or excuse me, indigestion. When I was out, they added new hand minables outside Hurston. So when I was testing the Geo yesterday, I just kind of went out past the thing, as you did, Algared, and I was scanning. And as the first thing I thought was just normal rocks, and I'm looking for hand minables. The second thing I found, the unknown, when I scanned, was a group of copians. Now I'd never seen biological life forms come up on scanners before.
Yep.
So I was like, they have updated scanners. And so I could see the copians running around on the surface all in blue.
You can also scan and you can also scan the Valakars. Those the worms.
I did see mind you, I'm only on Hurston, so I did see the quasi-grazers. I did see the copians.
So
I didn't find any hand mineable rocks though.
So the reason I'm bringing this up, we also know that you've got to get copian horns for the mission with Wickalow. So actually, I'm retracting what I was trying to say before. I think we may actually see some of the basic animals in crafting from the get-go. And I just think they're going to obviously just introduce more and more animals as time goes on. Just like they'll introduce more and more ores and stuff like that as time goes on.
Well, I'd like to also see not only just the animal husbandry side of things, but I'd also like to see the ability to crossbreed plants, so germinate different plants and get different strains of plants. Get a drought-resistant crop, or get a radiation-resistant crop, and those types of things. So you can actually enhance the quality of life of citizens or your settlement. But that's way down the track, hopium. But that's the type of thing I'd like to see.
Yeah. I've heard you guys say this before, and it is strangely true, where you do sometimes think CIG has forgotten about something that was important to you that they talked about 10 years ago, but it'll always resurge, like come back, and it turns out they'd never forgotten about it. So for example, when I was looking into very early design documents on the Endeavor, I'm talking some real early stuff. They talk about in there farming, and then I never heard anything, or not farming, animal husbandry type stuff. I didn't hear anything else about that for like all the time I've been playing Star Citizen until, what was it, that Todd Pappy, Citizen Con, or whatever, the one where they first started talking about base building like a year or two ago, and
he talked about all the
animal. animal farming again. I was like, oh, okay, so it is still a thing, you know.
Yeah, and
so
we've said that before, and we get a lot of resistance to that because people go, "Oh, it's been 10 years since such and such," and the one we always put back to is Death of a Spaceman, because we didn't hear about that for 13 years, I think it was, and then it could have been less than that, but when they finally did drop it, very little had changed. And what we've actually found is when they do update them eventually, they are modernized. A lot of it is lore stuff. Like, so for example, with Death of a Spaceman, a lot of it was the Vandal stuff, the spheres and stuff, wasn't it, Algared? There wasn't really any massive gameplay changes. And there are ones that go the other way. Like, I know tier beds change for medical a little bit. And I'm sure they will modify, but until they say different, that's what we hold them to. So I kind of get, and no offense to the people I'm about to throw on the bus, because I'm not going to call names, but even one of the other Inforunners I can throw under the bus here, right? They will say things like, "Oh, but it's been 10 years," and we'll go, "No, they've never talked about it since." So that's what it is until they talk about it again. And
until they tell us again, that's what it is. And but the nice thing about CitizenCon was that episode where they said where we've been, where we're going, where we are, or where we've been, where we are, where we're going, because they actually just updated everything and put everything on the map, and we're going,
thank God, they've just made our lives so much easier. That's what me and Algared are sitting there going, there's nothing in this for us. I think we went at the end of the video, we go, there's two things that were new to me and Algared, and we're like, which was the Bengal, and there was one other thing, the military ships, and explaining why they were more expensive and stuff like that. That were the only two things. And everything else, me and Algared are like, well, this just ups everybody else and makes our lives easier, because everything we've been saying all the way along is still fucking factual. But we had so much kickback over the years because people just come in and go, it's been 10 years, there's no fucking way they're doing this anymore. And it's like, no, piss off.
And we're going, told you.
Yeah. But that's not our way. We're just like, we're trying to get the correct information out. We can say told you, but again, it doesn't help anyone. So
actually, it was more vindicated.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Right.
But it was nice to see the things we'd been saying were actually held true. And you're right, Grim. It's that the things they'll say, they'll just keep on the back burner. It's just they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And then from that, you can kind of extrapolate or hope they'll go other areas as well. But
I think they just, they're in a design doc, and those design docs are sitting somewhere, and sometimes they don't get opened for a couple years, but they're still there. And at some point that design doc does get opened, and that information's still there. And like you said, it may have to be updated to some current, metrics or current gameplay loops, but the original seed of the idea is there. I think that was what was so reassuring about getting when Rich went on stage and laid out the 1.0 vision, was that the vision was maybe different than some people wanted, or maybe it was what maybe it was perfect for some people, but it was just nice to have a vision all laid out holistically, because a lot of times we get these parts and pieces of the vision, so it was nice to see everything laid out. Now there's you saw the entire pond, but it was pretty shallow. Obviously, they do eventually need to deep dive some of these systems that they're talking about a little bit more. But just to have a single panel that you can send a new player to and say, here's what it's going to be, watch this. And that kind of gives them a good primer on the project. You know what I mean?
I think that's why you and I connect a lot of dots, Algared, because when you kind of start to lay it down and start to connect things, you can. It's almost like you got these tendrils going out that they've talked about. But what we found is you can just, what we've noticed, and you'd even do this yourself because you do a lot of CGI stuff, is if you can reuse something, like essentially cut corners. You will do that, and so we'll see we'll see a gameplay system and how a gameplay system can be reused. Like we noticed how stations were being laid out. We're like, well, that's how they could do shops, and that essentially completely turned into the room system. And they use that for everything now. Like a room can be a ship, an asteroid, blah blah blah. Like we saw it coming, but we didn't know what it was called. So you can go back and look at all these old videos we've done, and it's not called the room system, but we essentially are going, they're going to do this like it's. Cut corners.
You could see that in the way they did the container system for solar systems, planets, moon, and just breaking it down. And but the other thing that I think lends credence to the idea of the animal husbandry and the plant husbandry, and that is they go into such detail of making the planet feel right with weather systems, and we saw that at CitizenCon, the storms and all the rest of it. You go to that detail and then you miss out major aspects. And so if they're looking at animal husbandry or farming, you've got to feel that they're going to go that depth as well.
That came up in this video too, didn't it, Algared? We even said, like, what about temporary situations? So I think I mentioned the movie Pitch Black, or maybe I didn't, I can't remember. But imagine, like, you could have a once 1,000-year storm and it actually changes the animals on that planet to be evil or good or whatever, and so you've got this rare, say they go good, it changes, you got this rare opportunity to go and mine an area that you can never mine, but then it's just like
or once a month, and maybe it's almost like a little mini event. Once a month, something emerges from underground and is flying around, and then does its week of terror, and then it goes back underground for another month or a year.
The go dormant for a week, so you can go mining in these areas.
All of a sudden, you can see how science essentially adds to gameplay and all this stuff. And so, essentially, when we were doing this video, it was just epiphany after epiphany. Like, you could start to see all the cool ways you could use science to affect gameplay, and it just made science for me had been this real basic level that they never really explained to me. And obviously, there's the science of weapons, because we don't even go into that. We just essentially go, this is just one area of science we've worked. And again, this may never eventuate. I do want to point that out. But just the thought of it and the way it connects to the game, I can't see it not happening, because its essential anchor points are points they've mentioned themselves, like the different species or different variants of species. And again, as Algared, I've done this over the years, we just take things that they've said and try them to connect them to other gameplay systems. And that's kind of essentially what we do in this video, in an area that is not talked about a lot, which is science. And that's why I got so excited, because it's essentially, you got this science tree out here on its own that we don't know a lot about. Like, you've got mining, you've got salvage that we know, pre-established things. But science is probably one of the most untouched things in this game. And it just exploded this huge area of it. And I went, holy shit, there's this massive area that we've never seen.
And you've also got that aspect where, in terms of this, we picked up where CIG had talked about answering the question, the law team is answering the question, why are Valakirs appearing on all these planets? How did they get there? And CIG said, people put them there.
Well, that was our only answer. And we even said that. I said, why would you want to... I think during the at CISCON on the floor, I leaned over to Algared and said, but why would you want to move creatures to other places? And or Algared said that to me, or vice versa. And then the other one of us said, because people would just do it because they can, like to cause anarchy. Well, that was our response. And then obviously now we've had time to think about it. We've got a reason.
You do it because you may do it for anarchy, but you also might do it because you're after, you're hoping that it'll morph into some form and give you more resources. Like the quasi desert grazer or the Arctic grazer.
So science, to me, just broadly speaking, this is how I've always thought of it too. And this is why we don't have a lot of science in the game yet, really, or at all, is because to me, science is the buff to all the other gameplay loops. So, for example, through science, you're going to be able to make things that make your combat better. Through science, you're going to be able to build better buildings. Through science, you're going to be able to make your own medicines or performance-enhancing drugs. So it's science is the thing that makes all the other gameplay loops. It makes you able to level up in them, tier up in them.
That's a good point, because there is actually a research pod, a general research pod, and a scientific research pod. So research is a really big part of science. Sorry, I got to think of a session.
And I'm just looking at Twitch chat, and DC Gamer or DG Gamer says, his buddy in here, we're talking about making drugs on the Endeavour. And they went as far as putting him into grenades and stuff. But that was one of the things that CIG even talked about the Endeavour being for, using it for illicit drug production. So,
well, just like we were talking about how drugs. Doing the animal testing on in a biopod, you could do the same thing with plants, because everything we're talking about here, plants do it. We even went into things like two of the other episodes we did with, because we do a lot of AI stuff with Morph when he comes on, right? And one of the episodes we talked about was how animals on that could react. And I think we go, how far could they take this? I think they are going to take it as far as we said it could possibly go, where they could have massive herds of creatures and stuff, but also like more bespoke one-off apex predators. Like initially I thought it was only ever going to be like herd mentality, being very basic, but from what I'm seeing, it is going as far as, like, that episode's a couple of years old now, and just the way things have moved in the last couple of years, I think the tech has kind of caught up to that stuff.
And even with some fauna, like isn't the storm whales or space whales, aren't we supposed to be able to like almost land on them and harvest them and like stuff off them and whatnot? So
and then if they dive too deep, then you've got to gauge it right. You don't get caught in the gravity well.
And do you think they'll be the only big creatures like that? Absolutely not.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, someone is making a giant space turtle. I'm just calling it right now. It's so happening.
I'm concerned to find, like, we know about the space whales around Orison. What about their predators? Predators. What about the predators? Like we have sharks
giant
whales. Are there predators that go after the space whales as well? So
well, I would think there would be, because I mean, again, if you look at how CIG is looking at fauna, they really don't treat them as just window dressing. If you played Fight for Pyro, for example, when you would do the CFP outpost clearings, half the enemies you had to kill were Copian, and then the other half were bad guys. You know what I mean? So they were an integral part of like your mission objectives. So I think they'll lean into that and make fauna part of this you have to interact with.
What I'm hearing from you two mad scientists is you want a nebula that you can take the Stormwells to and turn them into giant space sharks. That's what I'm hearing. And Algared wants to install laser beams on their heads. I can see it now. He does. He looks a lot like
I want to train the dolphins. That's right.
A certain person.
Train the dolphins. That's right. Train the dolphins to be attack, execute whales. Yes.
But that would be cool to actually, again, we're doing gremlins like that. I think that might have even come up in the episode as well, if it didn't. But I think you mentioned that Algared was gremlins in the episode.
Yeah, the idea, you feed them wrong, or you put them in the wrong environment, and they go ape. So.
And we mentioned a documentary as well that's on Netflix. That's a really cool episode if you watch it, Grim. I don't know if you've seen that. I'd have to open it again.
Which one's that?
I did find it. It's in the episode. I mentioned it in the episode, and I did find it, and I bring it up during the episode. But there's this, essentially, I think it's only like 6 episodes, and it's on Netflix, and it's like a what if of space. Like, what would it like to be on the planet that has ridiculously high gravity? But in one of the episodes, they essentially have these kind of 2 monkey-like species, like one's black and one's white. One's kind of passive and eats plants, and the other one wants to eat the other one. And it turns out, to cut the story short, is the plant that the one of them is eating is actually the predator. So what it's doing is it puts material into the little white monkeys. The black monkeys come along and eat the white ones, and it affects the black ones, and the black ones essentially die, and the plants grow out of the black ones. It's really cool, and he's like, wow,
symbiotic.
And it's just like it's like 3 steps ahead type of analogy, and it's just so cool. And I remembered it when we were filming the episode, and I'm just like, I could see that shit as well. So essentially what I'm trying to say is this science stuff really leads into a lot of those sci-fi tropes, and it's going to make all these weird, quirky aliens completely possible. And it also, you got to think of the gameplay connotations. They can make the most boring creature as batshit, and then all of a sudden we discover that it's like the xenomorph from or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like or we mix 2 alien races together and make xenomorphs, or whatever it is. Someone through science is going to be the person that finds they're going to plant a bomb essentially. And essentially someone's going to create or find something that turns into like a mega event that we all come in and it's like, shit, this guy's got to be wiped the fuck off. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like the Xenos or a virus or like it's gonna happen multiple times. I can tell you that right now. You can just see what's gonna happen and you're gonna you are banned from playing with the squirrels again near the gas nebulas because you can see it already. Like it's just hilarious to me.
We know that Chris has talked about, or I can remember Chris talking about the plague on World of Warcraft.
Yep. And I played through that. Yep.
Right.
Zombies.
He played through that, and you know that virus that killed people, and I can see them bringing stuff like that into Star Citizen. Deliberately.
Well,
science is every trope.
They would obviously, and they would obviously make gameplay loops out of it. But even while they've said this won't affect players, even the newest gameplay storyline coming in with the whole regen crisis is kind of interesting. And you could see how, while the systems aren't in the game right now to really have it touch a lot of the other subsystems in the future when we have Death of a Spaceman stuff, it would be interesting if like a regen crisis happens and it does affect us a little bit in terms of how we respawn for a period of time. Like maybe you lose more or something like that. And there's more risk to dying for a month or whatever.
3 saves too.
Well, you don't come back with every time you respawn, you come back with one less limb. And so you end up...
Unless you've done a lot of science and you've done a lot of research and you've been able to build, certain enhancements to your imprint or whatever. Who knows what they'll come up with.
It could even be we are the cure. We have to find out what's wrong through scientific research, and we fix the spheres, or we make, instead of being Vandal spheres, we modify them because they were made for Vandal. All of a sudden we've realized there's a difference in our DNA and we make human spheres. I'm just as an example. So
I think part of it comes down to just the fact that it's explaining why NPCs can't respawn. Is what I think ultimately it comes down to. The players can respawn, but the NPCs don't, or most NPCs don't. So,
So what I'm trying to say is essentially science has really opened up my eyes through this episode to how a lot of the questions we have of unknown things can be answered, because you can and that's what was such an epiphany to us, right? Because science, it just opened this massive area of science that we'd never seen before. And yes, it is speculation, but it answers so many questions. And that's why I was so excited about it. Now, it hasn't viewed very well, and I'm sure it never will because people hate speculation episodes.
Go watch it, everybody.
But all we ever try and do when we do these episodes is to open your mind to a different train of thought. We do that a lot because it just we want you to see in the box, around the box, under the box, what's under the lid, and try and discover it for yourselves.
What's in the box?
So,
I have to run to go to dinner with the family, but I'll leave you with this. I did think about you guys the other day, just because I know you do so many ship purchase advice videos and stuff. I made a Bush League error yesterday when I purchased the Golem and the Atlas Geo. I bought some extra ones, and I was gonna use them for giveaways, and I was going through, was all happy, running through pretty quick, and didn't think. But I had 50 cents of store credit on my account, and I said, I'll just apply it, not thinking that turned the entire purchase into a credit.
Well, you've got 30 days to get a refund, so contact.
I just want to say, I put in a request at that moment. I've already been taken care of by CIG. They were quick.
They are very quick.
Sorted me out on that, so it was a very smooth process. So all good.
But that's one thing you do have to be careful of, otherwise you can screw up your purchases. So.
I don't know why I didn't think that. But anyways, you guys have a great rest of your show, and I'll talk to you soon.
Say hi to the fam for me. They have no idea who I am. Just say hello.
It's all good. Later, guys.
Bye-bye. Right. So, okay, we've really talked this episode to death, but we did enjoy it. I know most of you would have seen it anyway, but, take out of it what you will. Let us know in the comments of this video or this stream. Did you enjoy that episode? Because it was, again, for me and Algared, we even reached out to Paul and Space and stuff and asked them to look at it too, because it was that profound. We don't always do that, but
But it is one of those episodes we did enjoy it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I like those episodes where you can explore and draw on information we know, and then go, okay, where can it go? What are the reasons could it go? what we see in the real world, what we see, and so it was good. I enjoyed it. But we'll go to our questions. The beauty of this discussion is hopefully it's given you plenty of time to leave a comment on that video and be in the draw for that Mustang. So yeah, our first question comes from Ben Frick. He says, "Who won the Pally?"
King someone. He does have it, and I was talking to him yesterday. He was in. I was just talking to him in general, actually. Let me scroll up. King. He's got his icon.
Yep.
I did talk to him. He's got a family. I talked to him for a while. Like I try to talk to everyone when they win a prize, just for a bit to get to know it. But he was very, very busy, and we have a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm talking. No.
But
there is King IRMC on Discord. So King_IRMC. He's the guy that won it. And he has kept it because it was a Guardian from CIG with an upgrade to a Paladin, and at the moment he's kept it separate, but he's treating it like a fighter. And I said to him, the whole reason I got the Paladin one is it isn't a fighter. So I said, if you find it comes out and you actually like it, upgrade to it. That's why I got the Paladin upgrade, because it's not a fighter.
Yeah.
It's a multi-crew type of fighter thing. Anyway.
Yeah. So they were quite chuffed too of one. Their son was jealous, I believe they said. So that was good. So that answered that question. The next question was again from Ben Frick, and he says, "Have you seen a sneak peek? And what combat chip would it be?" No, I haven't seen a recent.
Because they send it while we're asleep, believe it or not. But I will open it. You can hear ding dings from my email.
Yep.
But I'll open it and see if I've got it. If you have a copy of the sneak peek and you're on the Discord, please just, there's the ding dings. Do I have one? No, I don't have the preview one yet. So if someone has the sneak peek image, please send it through to me.
And we will open it and have a look.
Yeah, it's like they send them to Australians last because they assume we're going to be asleep or something.
Yeah, it must be. Doc Auxiliary, or the Auxiliary Doctor says, it appears we're going to get a ship a month for 2025.
Yeah.
If so, what other predictions do you have that haven't been teased yet?
Well, that's a big question.
That's a big question. And look, I got to say, for the ships in the blue video, or the blue curtain video, or what you want to call it, that we know will most likely come. But the Geo and the
pipeline
Golem,
Discord, thank you.
The Geo and the Golem were ones we hadn't seen coming until they dropped them, until they appeared in PTV, in a PTU. So, and I don't think there'd been anything in the leaks channel until that point.
Hold that thought, Algared. This is the new ship that has been teased. New ship teaser, RSI Mantis base fighter, the one that you were excited about, Algared, and ironically it is coming in around Invictus. Isn't that funny? So you've been proven right yet again, you son of a bitch. Right. No, so I showed Algared down because I said, it's about 18 months. There's no way it's coming out now. And then, ironically, here's a freaking preview for it. I find that bloody hilarious that you are... Because at the time when we did that video, I'm like, Algared, no proof of that. And I shoot him down in the middle of the video, and I owe you an apology, sir. You are wiser than me.
I did say...
I will bow to your greatness.
No, what I said is it could, because we don't know when they started. We know it's an 18-month window, but... You don't, on some of these, we don't know when they start those. And so they could have started 6 months earlier than when they even start talking about it, which means it's 6 months earlier.
But that said, though, in the files, it was an EMP Mantis originally. This does actually say that it is a RSI Manta base fighter ? And that's, I think, get ready for combat is what it says, is the sneak peek line. And so I think they're speculating there on pipeline just a wee bit, but it does say get ready for combat. So it'd be interesting to see if this started out as an EMP Mantis and evolved to a combat. It's kind of cool. I do think we do need some, I'm going to be honest, I thought much like you remember I talk about episode 3 and stuff. I thought a lot of these ships would not be eventuating until further episodes of Squadron, much
later.
like the Drake ones as well. I know Drake, like a lot of people go, why are there holes in the lineup? Well, that's because they're going to make them when those episodes of Squadron come out, right? That's why we only have a Buccaneer. We don't have essentially a medium and heavy fighter from Drake, right? It's the same thing with Aegis. It's the same thing with RSI. There is a lot of ships missing that don't have their, like Anvil have all these fighters, but they've got no capital. What's going to happen is it's going to kind of flip. You're going to get the capitals for Anvil in the other episodes, and you're going to get the fighters of other. You see where I'm going, right? So I don't know, Algared, what's your kind of first thought on this style? I can see that RSI Mantis in that look.
Well, one of the things we said about the Mantis when it first came out is it did not have the teeth. It had it was a net, but it was a spider without fangs. It could catch things in the net, but so what? And so having a fighter version, you could see a squadron of Mantis working together where one's got the teeth and one's got the net. So I don't mind the idea, and the Mantis is such a beautiful little ship. You want to use it. You want to have that platform. Just so you got that ship out there more.
Maybe these were always planned, because let's be honest, when we reviewed that, we even said there's a shit ton of space in this thing. Like, like that is one of the most spacious ships I've ever seen, considering its size. So yeah, I could see a couple of variants for that thing.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Beautiful ship.
I will reiterate here. We've had it said to us by a couple of and you were there at those conversations for one of them. That the CIG people are very excited. I'll just say excited, right? They are excited for the ships that are coming this year. And we don't hear a lot of communication like that. And they're saying things, some of the ships we're seeing are just amazing. So pace yourself, pace your wallet. That's all I'm trying to prepare you to pace your wallet, right? Because again, if we're doing one per month, right? Let's be honest.
God help us.
The Invictus and the IIE are going to be big this year. So either you're going to have to be prepared to move some stuff around or save accordingly. I just want to give you that, because I don't want you to go, I couldn't get such and such because I'd already got this, and that. If you don't really need a Golem, don't get a Golem, right? Like, just don't get one. Unless you're doing
as I said earlier,
unless you're doing unless you're doing a CCU chain. That's a bit different.
And as I said earlier, I did pick up the Golem pack because that is a really good pack. If you're looking at possibly giving a starter pack to someone, man, that is a really good pack to pick up, because that will help set them up to do stuff in game. So, but in terms of predictions, like the fact that the Golem and the Geo hadn't been seen in the leaks until basically they dropped. Kind of says there's lots of stuff that could come. So, anything else to add to that question?
There is one other little image here I do want to show off really quickly. Wait, hang on. Come up over the top of the other one. There was a pin by a staff member from CIG. Thank you for your report. We reached out to the Imperial Cartography Center for comment and received the following response. Tessa Banister has been on voluntary leave from ICC for several years. We're not aware what could. So essentially, I think they're kind of alluding to the fact that she's coming back. Kind of like what I said to you during the week when we did the video on Wickerell's Emporium. I think that's a real big tip of the hat that they'll bring her back as another quest giver down the line. Maybe we earn her from Wickerell at some point.
We free her, and once we free her, she goes back onto active duty. Because
I kind of, this is my request to CRG. If anyone is watching, right, I would love to see. You know how they did their interview with the Jax McCleary guy?
Yep.
I want that with the Tessa Banister actress, and I want to know what she's been doing between. Right, I want the backstory, bro, because that, like, she is the longest running kind of thing in the game. Look, there's a lot of long running things, right? But that's, I don't know about you, Ag, but I'd love to just see that.
Older than Jackson Cleary in terms of fan favorite.
Like, it should be kind of sitting there going, oh, I thought this shit was dead. I thought I was never gonna hear about it ever again. And if they manage to get the same actress, maybe they do have a different person. I don't know. But like, it would just be really cool to hear her story about like how it was received back in the day, because we've never heard anything about her, right? And I just think that would be like me and Algared got more excited for Tessa Banister than we did for the combat mech, right? So that, and there were a lot of people that missed Tessa Banister. Like I had like in the first hour when it dropped, I was linking the mech to people, but I was also linking the images of Tessa.
And saying, who's that?
And there were people that like for example, I leaked that to Aria because Aria's like, oh, can I use that? So the actual image that's on Pipeline was taken by me. She just cropped it, right? So that, things like that. But that's not me boasting. That's just saying a lot of people missed it, is what I'm trying to say. And she is hard to see because she's actually pushed into a corner,
hidden in a corner.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't understand who she was and why she's important. That's the type of thing that always blows my mind when those types of things come up and you go, how can you not know who Tessa Banister is?
You got to remember, Algared, like she's probably not been around since like 2016, like a decade. Like it's that long ago, and that just proves again what Rem was saying. Like there's information we just don't realize how. Like back then, there's probably 10% of the people that are out here now. So it's just the game is just growing every single time. I think another thing to that effect, Algared, was there were people on Reddit this week. There were multiple posts about people complaining about toxicity in general chat because there is just now so much more as the gameplay comes in. More and more casual players are coming in, and they're not. How do I put this? And we did say this that. You know, more and more normal gamers are coming in, and that respectful community that we have and that older, mature community, it is going to turn into a regular gaming community. It's a part of the course. It always happens. We've just had a really enjoyable 15 years almost. But it is, once Squadron comes out, we have to be prepared that this is not going to be the same community it was. It is going to fundamentally change, probably for the worse as in politeness and how helpful everyone is. But again, stick with the people you know. You don't have to obviously consult with everyone, but the friends you've made along the way that, you know, like me and Algared and whoever, all the other people we've met, just stay with the good people, I think is the message I'm trying to say there. Sorry, Algared.
Yeah, I think like I was in game this morning, from what would have been about 5 o'clock to, or 5:30 to 8. When you drag me kicking and streaming from a game. But even in that, there were on the chat, there were half a dozen new players who were saying, is this normal? I'm lagging, like, you know, is this normal?
Yeah.
And people were saying, it's a new patch. It always happens on a new patch. It's normal for, you know, so you had that whole discussion, but and I've got to say it was laggy.
Yeah,
so it was getting frustrating.
And if you don't like it too, like as older gentlemen, we should basically be encouraging the younger guys not to do that. And they will troll us, but we can take it. We were with them once, you know what I mean? One thing I do want to say, Sandgroper does point out a really good point when talking about Tessa. Distressed Bacon. If you've ever heard Distressed Bacon, that's who we're talking about when we talk about Tessa. That's probably her most famous line. So she starts out the quest saying, Distressed Bacon, and she goes, oh shit, sorry, I'm really hungry. And that's kind of her whole personality. And she was only a voice. So again, if they can find that actress and get that backstory, that'd be, I don't know, Algared, I put that off to you. Would you like to say that?
Anything that adds flavor to the game or adds flavor to the character. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what that actor had been thinking. Is it just a one gig? You know, especially if they get called back to reprise the role. Yeah,
because that's a, again, I know Essay's in chat, and I know Sandgroper, and I know a few other people that will know what we're talking about. So yeah, it's just something like that. You know, they did a lot of, like, they even did that last year. A lot of homages in that video where they went back and. Like they did the Bishop ship speech every way along. They went back and absolutely updated all the things they'd shown up to current. That the tip of the hat to the really old fans that only the old fans would recognize. I really want to see that, and that I'm going to put that out to our mutual friend and see if he can move the needle on that at all. Because
maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not expecting anything.
I'm looking at Twitch chat, and Hook says, I've been here since 2018.
Yeah.
And he'd only heard of Tessa Banister from older players.
Yeah. Because, that's about, what, 3...
And that's
2 or 3 years before is when she kind of disappeared.
So... and I think the ICC station was removed as part of that, removing the stuff in Stanton so they could actually put other stuff in, because Stanton was just getting so full.
But yes, so essentially Tessa was on some kind of ISC, as he said, ICC station, and it was just this giant kind of radio telescope type of thing, and she was only ever a voice, and you'd rock up to it and she'd just tell you to go places to look at things, and essentially her quest chain led to finding a Vandal ship. And it was kind of cool, because it was like, oh wow, it's almost like finding an alien, but it was just a ship and you could fight it and stuff like that, so it was kind of cool. And to be honest, we haven't seen a Vandal ship in game since. So once they removed it, it's never ever come back. So that would be a cool, like, what was that ISC where they had the Vandal attack thing, like that kind of freakish? Do you remember that with the
where they pinned up and it was arriving at Olisar?
Olisar, that's it. Yeah, it was, and it was just, they just did it as like a one-off little movie thing, but like it was like the full-on big Vandal ship coming in, the driller. But I'd like to see that as an event eventually that they do in game, where the Vandal kind of come in and then we push them back, and then Squadron 42 releases. That'd be kind of cool. But we'll have to wait and see if that's what they do. One thing I also did want to discuss, Algared, is how are your thoughts on another PvP event with the orbital barrage? This thing. I gotta find. Nope.
My face buried in my hands explains that.
Okay, sorry, I can't see you, obviously. Right. I
get that PvP is a thing. I like PvP at times, but give me a effing break.
Yeah.
Give me quests that don't involve, I'm doing a delivery mission. Don't make every blasted delivery mission and a PvP nightmare running through a contested zone, or having to fight X, Y, and Z just to drop off my cargo.
Would have been better if it was a co-op event, or like remember when they had the one where you could do the cargo runs while they were like combat people were defending you? That's the type I would have seen. So I would have liked to seen miners out there being defended by players, and it's a joint mission. Like they get, you essentially. It's a joint mission where you need combat people and defending the worms and all that. That would have been way cooler than this. Everyone fighting each other bullshit.
The first Xeno threat, where you had, the Xeno threat was there. You'd go get that. You had to deliver X amount to the station, to Jericho Station, but you also had to defend against the pirates, and so you had people defending against the Xeno threat attackers, but you also had everyone kind of loading up the ships and it was a hoot. And
another part of this too is also the Hathor stuff is essentially all the assets from Theaters of War, right? So all the stuff that's gone in, this was originally designed for another system, and it's been, I don't know if it's going to be permanently shoehorned into Aberdeen and the Stanton system, but that, I don't know if that means the death of Theaters of War, but that essentially is reusing the assets from that. Like that Hathor station is directly the station, because you used to start at the bottom, go along the train, and then go up to the station. So it is all those assets, and those Hathor lasers, they're the lasers from that mission of Theaters of War. So they have reused those assets for this. I like to see that they weren't wasted, but does that mean Theaters of War is dead? I do not know, but I think that's what it's turned into, is this event.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is good, based on the chat that I was seeing, and if you put the chat back, I'll be able to find it again and refresh my memory.
Sorry.
Is that Robert JT was saying that the frustration of those missions is that you've effectively got to work as a group, and yet the payout is a solo reward. and that's to me is a frustration.
Not only that, average, you've got to do it like 30 times, or something ridiculous. Like you like the amount of stuff you've got to get for Wicklow's armor set, the Polaris, and all that is akin to like 30 times. So it's not just like you go in and do 1-2 missions on a weekend. Like if you are working, as an example, how many times could you do it in a day, right? And then how many weekends is that going to take? So basically, like, could you do it 5 times each weekend? So you got to do it 20 times. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit unreasonable.
And in a sense, I don't mind having to do 30 missions, but I do mind having to do 30 grind missions that are exactly the same.
And how many of them do you fail because you die to some other player?
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
Or die because of a crash.
So if you do 20 that you succeed on, how many did you fail on to actually, like, did you fail 200 times to get the 20 done? Like I think that's the other thing. It would have been much better to have multiple ways to do this. Yeah, you can mine and it takes longer. Because that's the other thing that's really weird, right? You essentially are fighting for a couple of hours to crack this hole open in the ground, so then you can mine for an hour. Like, the other thing is, let's be honest, the people that like to fight, they more than likely don't like to mine. You know what I mean? Like it's two very different. Like, you've got a very passive group of players in the miners, and you've got a very twitchy type of thing. So it does take 2 sets of people. But are the miners going to wait around for the combat to happen? And then when the combat happens, the miners you've got ready to go, oh, sorry guys, we lost the combat. Yeah, okay, we'll have to, better luck next time. And then you got to wait an hour. Like, how does that work? Yeah. And it just seems a bit disjointed and not thought through.
In some ways, it reminds me of a Viva Dirt League episode where we were talking about, that the episode was actually options instead of paying to access material, and it was, oh yes, kill X number of, you get the gems in the rats, and so you're killing rats, and he's killing a rat, nothing, and kills about 5 rats, and then gets a gem, and then it feels like that at times, and I like I don't mind PvP. I don't mind the FPS. I'm not good at it, but I don't mind it. But I don't want every single solitary mission or activity buried and tied into that type of gameplay.
I think the secret is taking the gameplays that they've got and somehow tying them together, and I do think they're trying to do that a little bit here.
Yep.
But it's similar to what we saw with the contested zones, or was the one before this the one where you they tried to hide all the pads and nobody could find the pads.
Yep.
It's the same thing as that. Like it just, there's working on this idea, and then maybe this is another one that they've kind of stuffed up, because they do obviously going to take a couple of months to pop out, so we're probably gonna have to wait a couple of months to see some good ones where they've learned the lessons. But right now, this is just, it's the same shit, and it's not working.
The other thing I'd like is the fact that when they're doing those missions where you've got to do 30 missions or so to do it, you go 30 missions for, say, headhunters. You do a headhunters one. I don't think that should actually, until you've done all 30, block you out of doing the other faction, because you make a mistake. I picked the wrong mission. I'm now locked into that whole blasted group, or I'm doing it halfway through and I realize, they're actually the bad guys. No, I want to do this group. That I find frustrating, and there's no way to reset that and go back, and so for me that's a frustration. No way to reset your rep. No way to go pick up other missions. One
other thing that I remembered from the week that I do want to talk about too. Find it here. It was the one and all this one. So they've done this extremely interesting competition, right? Because you can actually win a Vandal ship, right? Vandal ship with LTI, which is amazingly cool. And they've put up this code that needs to be broken, but it's only 3 people that can win it. And there's probably only 3 code breakers in the whole bloody game, like, community. And they're not going to work together because they're going to want to win the ship.
And you've got to pronounce it correctly.
So say Algared's just an amazing code breaker, and he knows that it says execute is awesome, but because he doesn't know how to pronounce execute is awesome,
I pronounce it as execute sucks. But
you get what I mean, right? If you can't enunciate and speak it, you can read it, but speaking is a completely different kettle of fish. So I just
God help
again,
you if you need to roll your R's and you can't roll your R's.
Yeah, another quite not thought through competition, because you might be able to see it, but like I struggle with certain words and stuff sometimes as well. So, but yeah, it looks like there are people trying to put it in and crack it. So it'd be interesting. I think that, no, they're the 5 messages, but yeah, but you can literally, as I said, that is a really rare opportunity to earn a very rare ship, and there's 3 of them up for grabs. So if you happen to work that out, kudos to you. But I guarantee you, because of the prize, everyone's playing solo. It's not going to be like the Banu where they do those Banu messages and everyone's working together trying to get it sorted. This is going to take a long time because because people are going to be fighting each other. Because that's like, what are they up to now? 3,000 a pop, I think the last time I looked at, or even more than. And as I keep saying, that is the rarest of the rare. That, because it is before Asperia came along, that is a genuine Vandal Scythe, not a replica like all the other ships, like the Asperia ones and stuff like that. So it's the only ship that you can get in the game, and I actually think they actually do mention it here. I have to find it, but just give me a second.
The UE, I think it's in the interception. The UE Navy will provide that one.
Yeah, there you go. The Navy will provide a reclaimed Vandal Scythe. So a reclaimed one is one that's been put back together of destroyed pieces. So that is a Vandal Scythe, not a replicated one. So that is a chance to get one, and I guarantee it'll come with LTI because of how rare it is.
We know the UEE captured a carrier at some point that had Scythe on them. The warp engine the engine had exploded or damaged, and there was radiation for the ship that incapacitated all of Vandal before they could hit their self-destruct, and so they picked up a Scythe.
Wait, it's a glaive. It's not a. Wait, are you saying it's a
no?
No, no. In Twitch chat, someone's saying access token to buy an Asperia replica glaive. If it's just a glaive, no one gives a shit, right? But that says there that it is a Navy reclaimed Scythe, right? Now, a glaive was made by Xperia, so it's the only ship in the game that is an alien Vandal ship with LTI is the Scythe, and that's why they're so expensive, because there was a massive blowback because they said they were never going to sell alien ships. Then they dropped this, and everyone got really pissed off. So they changed them to be replicas, as in not real ones. So that's why the Scythe it was sold for like 2 or 3 days, and then never ever sold again. And that's why they're so expensive, because and they are the rarest of the rare. That is the, like, if that was the one thing I would change about my trip in Star Citizen, I would have gone back and brought one. Even though at the time I passed it because I was like, this is not as good as the Hornet, and it cost $350. But now they're so rare. Again, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Anyway,
the Vandal ship will be the new version. They've already said in the past that the Vandal ships will be updated. So someone saying, Shady Phase E is saying, is it the old design Vandal ship?
No,
or the new one?
But it's
CIG have said.
But it's not a replica like Asperia. That's the thing I'm really trying to stress.
Now the thing with Xperia, after Asperia had and how Asperia comes to fame is they get contracted by one of the Hurstons who has a glaive, a Vandal glaive, and he contracts them to actually get it flyable for an IAE, and so they basically reverse engineer and add parts. And other things to get it working.
I have to interrupt you.
And then the Navy pulls them in to do that.
Please let me interrupt you. I've just had an epiphany. This is a Vandal code breaking, and it's covered in Squadron 42. It's the... Think about it.
Squadron 42.
Highly potentially. Something... Do you see where I'm going with this, right? This is big connotations here when they crack this shit.
Yeah.
Is that a release date? Is that what does it mean, right? But I've just realized, like, that's a big thing that they've hidden behind this competition. That's why they're releasing the Scythes, because this is a big deal. They want this cracked.
Yep.
They put out the rarest of the rare as a huge thing.
Yep.
That's going to be big news when this is cracked, I reckon.
Yes. Yes, Bolon 99999. That was one of the things that they had to do with the Scythes, is change them so that humans could fit. Originally, it was said that they were just too big for humans, so they had to adjust them.
It's all law. That's all law bullshit. Because at the end of the day, it is a alien Vandal Scythe, and that's why it's rare. Like, I don't want you to. I don't want you to muddy the water, because
I'm just picking up.
Because you're going to muddy the water,
no, and I'm picking up the comments from chat. It is in law. The Vandal Scythes are actual Scythes. They're done by they're not done by Asperia. They're actually captured. Asperia do reconstruct ships from old parts and actually build, and make copies. But the Scythe is not a Asperia ship, and you can see that in the store. The Scythe is the only Vandal ship. The blade, the glaive, and anything else at the moment are Asperia. So yeah.
It wouldn't have been your buyback with, let's say, he's talking about he brought a glaive and melted it. I'm trying it. Hard to follow in Twitch chat, but now, yeah, you should be able to buy it back from your buyback with a buyback token.
One of the things that I did get reminded of is when the glaive first came out and people were wanting to upgrade from their Scythe. Ben actually said, why would you want to upgrade? The Scythe is the original Vandal ship. The glaive is a copy. Was his comment. That was at one of the lunchtime things I used to do. So
I think we'll hear about this again when it's eventually cracked, but I think...
No, Jimmy, you are actually wrong. Asperia was actually contracted by the Navy after getting the glaive flyable for a Hurston and an IAE, and they got them to reconstruct Vandal ships for target practice for the 888 Squadron, to their assault squadron that actually trained the pilots. And the Vandal Scythe were ones they captured on the carrier. Please read your law.
No need to apologise for good. Yeah, but I think we'll hear this again. I do think, because of the way it's been mentioned though, and the prize being so large, and that is the biggest ship they could offer, let's be honest. I don't know about you, but I would take this over a Javelin. That's how rare this shit is, right? Would you agree with me on that? Because a Javelin you can earn. You're not gonna, the only way you can get a Scythe is to capture one yourself, and then on top of that, you're never gonna put it out of your hangar, because someone will destroy it just to be an ass, and they don't. You can't insure them, but these ones are insured.
Yep.
So these are the only ones you'll ever see flying around that you can go up close to and look at, that won't be aggressive.
Yep, and the problem with capturing a Scythe or capturing any Vandal ship is they self-destruct if they're in danger of being captured. So you'd more or less be collecting parts and wreckage, and then hoping to be able to repair it. So yeah, I can't see them being too easy to capture.
Something behind your,
someone will do it.
There's something behind your camera, Algared, or something that's bugging me crazy. You've got some little text window coming up on your thing.
I thought I got rid of that.
You got a little. It must be on your end, because I can't get rid of it on mine.
It is on my end. It is.
I thought there was I'm like, is there shit on my screen? I'm looking at multiple things. Like, you know what I'm like for an eye for detail. There it goes.
The YouTube chat, the window that was popping up, and I killed it earlier, and it re-popped up again. So
no worries. Well, it's gone now. Thank you.
I thought I'd got it and got rid of it earlier. My apologies.
Thank you for the bits. The prisoner on Twitch. He gave us...
Really, I was just doing it to annoy you.
Is that 100 or 200? No, it's fine. I think he's, and I don't know how to read him on Twitch. I think he either gave 100 or 200 bits. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Right.
Indeed.
We should probably answer some more questions, because we have got sidetracked a lot today.
Ivy had a question. Idra's coming sooner than originally thought. So many updates on it in-game files, and now all these Idrases in the trailers.
That could be this. I've got no idea. Because again, there is something tied to this. That's big news. To put, like, I've never seen anything that's related to Squadron and a competition. Have you? Like, I'm trying to go back. Like, no. just nothing.
Nope.
So the way I would put this is, I think this is the start of the Squadron 42 hype up for release shit. I don't know how else to put that, but that's what I feel like this is, and that's why I'm trying to highlight. And I know you're probably thinking I'm on a massive white knight.
No,
not you.
Oh, sorry.
That
sorry.
Thinks that I'm on this most white knight type of crusade thing or whatever. But I'm bringing that to your attention because that's big, and that's why.
Seen a
that's
Squadron
why
42 logo on anything for donkeys. So
that's why I interrupted Algared before, because I was like, this is big news. Anyway.
Yeah, it was a big actual catcher or realization, and absolutely, I 100% agree. And it was interesting when we were talking to Sandy last year, and so, oh, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm back heading up the release of Squadron 42. So the dots align, I think.
Anyway, I am very much looking forward to playing it. I hope it's very, very, very well received by the wider gaming community. Just the intro enough, like almost a full-length feature film for the first level is insane. It's already exceeded my expectations, and I haven't even played it yet. I think the worst thing that could happen at this point is the story is just shit. And I think if it's even just kind of like 7 to 8 out of 10, I'll still be happy. I'm going into it with the vibes of Wing Commander, and I think you'd be doing the same, Algared, would you not?
I'm looking forward to Squadron. It's I played Wing Commander, loved Wing Commander. I'm expecting this to be as good. No, I'm expecting it to be better. Project Gnome has a question without a question in YouTube chat. He says, is a Vandal Scythe a previous event award at some point? I've had one in my ASOP terminal for a long time, and I don't know why.
You're a subscriber. You're a subscriber.
You're either a very lucky bastard.
No, he's a subscriber. It's if you subscribe, it is. I think it's on the second tier where you essentially get 2 subscriptions. You are just given that for the month that you subscribe. So you're obviously, I can't remember what the name is. Yeah. So you basically there's a permanent loaner if you subscribe twice. There's like the Imperator and the Centurion. I can't remember which one's which.
Yeah. So that's what it's for. So you get a Scythe on subscribers as a loaner. So that's why you've got it. But yeah, I've never seen it done as an event reward. The only other times I know they've been given is initial sale in the large Legatus pack, and they used to be given out at people who cross certain markers in the funding. So 25 million, 50 million, 75 million, 100 million.
How many of them you got again, and how many are you going to give me?
I've got one that I was given.
You've actually got 2.
I was given one, and one's in my pack.
Oh, damn. Yeah. And I want one, son of a bitch.
And I can't give you one because they're not transferable.
But we're going to call it a favour. No. I don't know. I would love to have one, though, because it is truly one of the things that I missed. And I brought it up with Algared multiple times. I think the only other thing I missed was a Star Kitten bike, but I know I can earn that in game, but I'll never be able to earn an LTI side. Like it is the pinnacle of rare in this game. And I'm very
it is indeed
bit miffed that I missed one. So I don't know. Maybe one day I can do something to earn one. We'll see. Maybe CIG will throw one my way.
Yeah. To answer Ivy's question, I think Squadron 42 is why we're seeing Idris updates and possible, and there might be another event which has Idris's in it, but my gut would be Squadron 42 and the fact that we've got this promotion. Grim did go over at length the updates to the Idris. Like he was talking about how the whole exterior has been updated and stuff like that. So they are obviously going back and redoing a lot of polish on Squadron. So that will follow over as well. So things like I'd expect to see that on a lot of ships. So like think about the ones we saw in there, like the Hammerheads, the Retaliators, the Hornets.
you know, even if they're not close to being finished, I would expect little tiny changes across the board on a lot of those ships as it becomes closer and closer to just natural to see polish on a product as it comes to the end of its fruition.
You remember the J-Pack with the automated turrets for the Idris P, and I'd always assumed I could use them on the Idris M, and CIG came out later and said, "Oh, we're going to update the Idris M so it can actually take these as well." So while I had been wrong in my initial thought, I ended up being right in the end. But you know, so we're going to be able to have automated turrets on the M, and that type of thing just makes, you know, that's kind of like PDF turrets, and I think that just makes the ships, you know, as you said, they're going to be bristling with PDF turrets. I think you mentioned that the other day when we were talking for the Javelin. You know, the Javelin in the previews were littered, festooned with these PDF turrets. So
yeah, it's definitely going to be a thing. I think, you know, much like so I'm just reading. I'm trying to read between the tea leaves because we got a first time chat on Twitch called Signal 30. It just said hopefully the Valk. I'm trying to read in there like he's talking about updates to Valkyrie or ships that go into Squadron. That is a Squadron ship, so that would be getting updates. But also we know they're working on the Paladin, and there's a ship in the files called the Asgard, which seems to be a Valkyrie. They're essentially Valkyrie variants, and that would also be why the cargo's been updated on the Valkyrie recently. So yeah, I would expect the flow-on effects, even just from Stasis, not even mentioning Squadron. But why wouldn't you do two things at once?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, yeah,
it goes back to what we were saying before. If you can use something again, you use it again, and it's the nature of game development. You create an asset and you want to use it as many times as you can. If you've got a bit of code, you want to use that bit of code as many times as you can because it just saves time. So yeah. Doc Auxiliary, or Auxiliary Doctor again, says, do you see Wicklow being the location where we can sell or unbrick ships in the future?
Sell or unburden ships?
He said unbrick, but
unbrick.
I'm going to assume he means unburden.
Yeah, I think he means like stolen ships, possibly, but there's lots of other places that could be like that, like salvage yards. Like I just don't. Again, I go back to where we talked about scanning earlier in this episode. That's not going to take off until scanning's in. But after that, you got to have one thing, and then the next will lead. I think a lot more once bounty hunting and scanning comes in. I think they'll go back and do the other side, which would be piracy. So I think you'll see a lot more stuff like that in. But Rich Tyra did talk about stuff like that, and even more recently, they talked about you know, how you could go in and essentially purchase to have the what do they call it? There was a death. What do you call it when you got the timer and you let go of the bomb?
Death man switch.
Dead man switch. Yeah, there'll be a dead man switch on the ships and stuff like that, and you can get those removed. So how they're talking about them now, so that means they're kind of at least planning for that stuff. So you can kind of see they're at least thinking about it. So they're obviously starting to work on that shit now. But how long is that going to take to come out? So
and we know that even at the moment in ships, you summon your ship and you look at a ship that it's got the code.
Yeah. So Bowler just got what I was talking about with the Scythe. He just found a Scythe for sale for 3.6K. Holy shit! That's almost as almost as expensive as a Javelin, and this thing's not even
expensive than a Javelin.
Isn't a Javelin 4K?
Might be now. It used to be.
I'll go check.
At one point, it was 2.5. Might be 3.5.
But regardless, this is a ship that I would say that is equivalent to a Gladius, right? That's essentially what this thing is. No, it's a step above that. It is more like the Hornet. But if you put it up against the Hornet usually beats it, right?
Yeah.
So what's that? A base Hornet's was 125. A Gladius is 90. So it's
somewhere in between there. And
so 100 to $110 essentially is what it's really kind of worth in human terms. But it's going for 3.6K. But yeah, it's the rarest of the rare.
Yep. So to go back to that question, I think I agree with you.
Someone just said 370 Warbond for a Jav.
There you go. So going back to that question about Wicklow being a place where you can sell illegal ships or stolen ships, I think down the track, but it might be an area where you can get the code scrub, because at the moment we see the codes in game, so we know that type of stuff's coming. But yeah, at the moment, no.
Right, I'm just going to check something about the jab, because the person's contradicted themselves and now said 2,700 for a jab. Well, you go on to the next question. I'll look.
Originally, it was 225. I do believe that the price has gone up. I think it's 3,000 now, but I could be wrong.
All right, so the price I've got here is War Bond is 2,700, standalone is 3,000, and that is more in line with what I remember. Yep. And I think the Privateer goes to 2.9, so it's just under a Javelin. I could be wrong. I'd have to go double. 2.1. Oh shit, I can't remember. Yep. It's been a long time since I've looked at. I don't really look at prices of the really high end stuff because not as many people buy them. You know, and if you're going to be making that purchase decision, you're going to do that yourself. Let's be honest.
I know the jab was originally 2.5.
It was. That's what it says here.
And then it went up.
They've got it in brackets at 2.5. You're absolutely correct. And I think originally the War Bond was 2.2, and then 2.5 for the standalone, and then it became 2.7.
When it first came out,
there
was no War Bond. It was back in the day when credits and
really
went hand in hand.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you are right. You are right. That would be the case. Yeah, I remember now. Well, I didn't buy one.
Well, I know that because I
got one
in 2014. So, and bought it with credits. Jodamo, with the bags on the Golem being very different to the Mole and Prospector bags, do you think we will see a Drake refinery ship or module for the Cat?
We've talked about this at length. It actually
watch our video.
If you look at the description on the pods, it literally talks about any ship that works with a Drake or pod system. So that it heavily implies there are other ships coming. Just a side note here, when John and I were in game last night, the ironic thing is you know how the pods on the Prospector are essentially 8 SCU, and these pods are 8. If you essentially math it out, so you have 4 pods for the Prospector, and you have 2 pods for the Drake pods work out cheaper.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, interesting.
But also, you know, like they're based on the standard. You can almost see Lord Drake have taken a regular container and then kind of re-engineered it. But being Drake, it's also cheaper. So will they down the track have leakage problems?
We also got to remember the missed ones. You can technically have 8 on a ship, and they also compact, so that's probably why they cost more. Makes sense.
Anyway, Hennypen has a question. The Golem and the Atlas Geo didn't get a CCU path. Is it a new thing or typical of cheaper ships? The Atlas Tractor Beam did not get one either and still hasn't. Do you think they will eventually?
It's really up to their discretion. I think you would agree with me. Over the years, we've seen it go both ways. But it's also not in good taste, because it would have been really nice if you had Atlas, if you just decided you want to spend $5. But again, as Algared said, when it's on the cheaper end, they kind of try to do this to force a bit more money out of you. It's also, again, like that skin pack I showed, that's War Bond. Normally that stuff in the past you could be able to buy for credit, but now it's War Bond. So they're still on the we need money train. The other way to look at it, though, is now we know Squadron 42 is coming. They're going to need money. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why they're doing so many ships, by the way, because they need money for marketing. How do you market this game? Like, do you just put it out and word of mouth? And how long is that going to take off? Or do you put out advertising campaigns? Do you get big streamers to play it? Like, do they bring in Summit 1G and Shroud and all that stuff and pay them to play it for a week? Like, look, how do you get the word out? Right. And you know, we're not going to cut it, because let's be honest, and I don't mean just us, I mean everyone. So you take the biggest streamers out there in our community, the biggest YouTubers, we are tiny compared to the greater community, right? And so we are not going to cut it. We'll do it for free anyway, because we do this content, right? And I don't just mean me and Algared, I mean Morph, Board Gamer, you know, Salty Mike, whatever. All of us are going to do that. So the point I'm trying to make is start to think of marketing. And a lot of people will actually tell you, generally speaking, if you look at a game like 2K games, a lot of the time they spend more on marketing than they did in the 10 years making the game. That's how ridiculous it gets. Like, that's how important marketing it is. You can't even sell the thing if people don't know about it, right? Yep. And I think they'll probably not need to spend, say GTA, for example, they won't need to spend as much as they used to because GTA is now such an established brand. We have nothing. In fact, actually, let me rephrase that. If anything, we have a bad rap because of Star Citizen in the greater community.
I think one of the things that is probably the best advertising for the game so far is that playthrough from CitizenCon.
Yep, but by the same token, Algared, in those comments, how many people were going? We would go and go, oh, it's so good to hear people say positive things about Star Citizen, and people they'd go, it's not Star Citizen. But they don't even associate them as the same thing. Squadron 42, yep. It's like it almost needs to say Squadron 42, a Star Citizen game. Like, yep. Because they're not associated with each other. And I to me, that was a massive wake-up call in the comments to me. And I don't know if CIG has said that. I hope someone at CIG is watching this. I know it's late as fuck over there. But you need to somehow associate the two to each other because that is clearly not worked. Because again, let's be honest, Squadron 42 is a bit of a weird name. It's got that connotation of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So yes, it has got that sci-fi kind of roots, but because of that, it's just a little weird. Not everyone is like I'm into sci-fi, but not everyone is into Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They might have been to Star Trek and Star Wars. So you've just by associating it with one franchise, you've possibly alienated other people because they're going to see, oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, I hated that shit. Does that mean you gotta think of those connotations, right? You've got to when you do your marketing, and again, I know these names were made way back in the beginning and it's been there the whole way along, but I might, honestly, looking at it in hindsight, I just call it Squadron. I wouldn't even call it Squadron 42. I just call it Squadron. And I know that probably sounds weird at this late state to do that, but it's a better name in my opinion. But I'm not going to be the one making these calls, Algared, am I? None of us. But again, they're the type of things they need to be looking at, and I'm sure people like Sandy and that have probably looked at this, but sometimes people do miss that shit too. So maybe they'll learn it with the first game, and it could go really bad. I'm not saying it will, but I have thought about these things at length, and I hope they have too. I assume they have. Don't you?
I'm fairly confident they have. Been thinking about it, and one of the things that, if I remember Sandy's background as well, she is, she does come from that marketing side background in terms of, fashion and other sides. And she's also seems to have that customer service attitude as well. So they're positives that come in. And I think,
Zombie Homby 3 on Twitch does have a point. It is a better acronym to have S42. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But the name 42 just has connotations to sci-fi people. I know why they're doing it, right? They are trying to lock it into those sci-fi people. But I tell you, pick any franchise, even ones that were popular that are now shit like Star Wars, and you say Star people, and some people just glaze the fuck over when you say Star Wars. And I guarantee you, there's even sci-fis, what's the one that you like that I haven't watched a lot? It's the Babylon 5,
Babylon 5,
right? And Algared absolutely loves Babylon 5, and I could tell that I would enjoy it too, but I just never watched it. And because it's so old now, it's kind of just passed me by, right? And I probably should go back and watch it, but it's just all this other new shit I can watch. It's the same thing with that, right? And I'm just trying to get you guys to stand back and see that. And I know I'm doing a devil's advocate, but you need to start thinking in it, take yourself out of the situation and look at it with fresh eyes, because that's what all those new people that they're going to want to come into the game, you've got to sell them on it. And they might not just be into what we're into. Is Gary Oldman and Gillian Anderson and Henry Cavill going to be appealing? But the same thing, I could pick an actor and you turn someone off. But again, by having so many actors, I think it will be more appealing to people. I think it is a game where what is really going to sell it, let's cross the names off, is the game is going to sell itself.
Yep. I think the game will sell itself, and I think the quality of the number of actors that are in and the high quality of actors are in it are going to help sell it because, just because how good it is, and so Anyway,
would you agree?
Let's move on.
Hang on. No, because this is important to me. I want to talk about this. Like for example, I think it's going to be a slow roll, right? So. Is Asmongold playing this game day one? I don't think he will, but I reckon by the end of the week he will be, because I think so many people have brought it to his attention. I think it's going to be one of those games that rolls out, kind of like what happened with God damn it, the one where you the your players kind of spies on the spaceship and kill each other. Can't remember it. The little, almost like Teletubbies in space. Someone's going to mention it in chat. But that one had such a slow roll. It was out for 2 years before it took off. 2 years. I don't think that'll happen with this, but yeah. John, can you jump in?
Yes, hi, John.
John,
He's in record.
He is in. You in, John?
Yep, that's why he popped in. He's just got his mic off.
All right, turn your mic on, John. We'll have a chat about the Golem. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Just made myself a cup of tea after I woke up.
Woke
up? Of course
up?
you did.
What time is it?
Oh, probably about 10 a.m.
11 o'clock at night.
11 o'clock at night. What are you waking up at 11 o'clock
at
night
why did you go to sleep, John?
Oh, basically, I was watching television and I got comfortable.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
you did a Diane. You did a Diane. Well, see, Diane used to fall asleep. Even when I was there, she fell asleep on the couch on a regular basis. So, yeah, did a Diane.
So, and we just call it Diane.
Yeah.
It's poor Pete.
Diane.
Yeah.
Diane.
You got to start with a Z, John. Dizan. It's almost like Dizan.
Picture those and then say Diane.
Oh, Diane, come back to the fan. Yeah, it works with it, yeah. Anyway.
You two are crazy, you know that, don't you?
Yep.
We got it from you. We learned from the master.
That's right. That's right. I wasn't crazy until I went to Manchester.
Yeah. Yeah, you rubbed off on him. Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And hang on, and he also lies.
I never. I'm a Hurston. We don't lie.
Collude. Right, John. Tell it. I deliberately went out of my way to take you out in the Golem. I am going to. Chances are, though, Algared's not going to be able to make it, but you and I will probably do a review on this. But just for
before you go any further, Chris came in and said, "Among Us" was the game you're looking for.
That's the one. Thank you very much. Yes, Among. Right. Noble Knight wrote Amogus.
Yeah,
that's the terrible sequel. Amogus.
Yeah. While you guys do that, I'm going to disappear because I need to disappear for a bit.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
No worries. Yeah, family stuff. It's totally fine. Yeah, so we'll probably go over this in detail as an episode this weekend, John. Algared doesn't look like he can make it, but that also gives me and you more time anyway, so we can go into it in depth.
Damn.
Yeah. But you got out and you got to mine some rocks in Yella. I just kind of wanted you to share with stream your thoughts.
Well, it's for industry. It's got to be the best starter at the moment for somebody who's just coming into the game, wants to make some easy money without actually running into bad guys.
So would you say it's not for us, as in like those that have the prospector and the mole and stuff, it's not for them, but it is essentially an introductory starter for new people, like as more new people roll in as, once Squadron comes out and shit like that?
I mean, yes, I would think so, because it's simple to use. But there's no, because people with experience, they like to have that room behind them. They can log out in the prospector when bed logging works.
Yeah.
But this, shoot out into the belt, come back in. So either if you're just starting, you can sell your stuff at the ore store. If you've got a bit of money behind you, you can actually put it into the refinery, have it refined, double your money. And it's just a simple start to the game.
It does remove a lot of the complexities, though, because you don't have to go learn all the laser heads because you don't have any choice to do that. But it gives you enough to go, what do these modules do? And it's not the worst laser when it comes to modules. It's only got 2, but again, as you said, it teaches you the basics type of thing.
Actually, having a basic module, laser, which gives you 2 modules, is pretty good. It's like the Hofstede on the Prospector only gives you 1.
Yeah.
The Klein doesn't give you any.
Yep.
Or one of them doesn't give you any. So it's not a. It's a very good ship for what it is.
There is one that gives you 3, and I think was it the Helix? Yeah, I think it might be the Helix. That gives
no,
you 3.
that's on the Mole, not the Prospector.
Oh, that's
on the Prospector, it only gives you 2.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I am like, again, if you're just looking on a ship on looks, I do like the look of it, but the functionality of it, would you agree with this statement, John? Because I did say this to you. I see it as like a tasting sampler. You know, when you go to, so here in Australia, they do a lot of samplers when you don't know what you want. So you can go in, for example, and you can buy like a cheese platter, and it has all these different little samples of cheese. And then you go, ooh, that one. And then you can go back and buy a big block of the cheese that you like. Or, you know, you can get meat samplers and stuff like that. So that it helps you refine. I think this allows you to see if you like mining or not. And I...
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But also something you said earlier on while we was out today.
Yeah.
This is not going to be the only version of this.
Yeah, so I kind of, the same thing. They talked about the RSI Salvager. That'll be similar as well. And I think we'll see it with all the professions. Like, again, there is an establishment for this, the Sen. The Reliant Sen is essentially an advanced starter science ship. And they talk about it being a plant sampler. You essentially go down and grab samples and stuff like that. So there'll probably be another one that can grab animals as an example. So, you know, we now understand why ships like the C8R were made. Because they are literally starter sampler type of ships. Just enough to wet your, you know, because if you think about it, what's going to work out cheaper? Buying that big Apollo or just testing the C8R if you're not sure?
Was that to me or to Al? Because he just came back. Yes.
Yeah.
We are going to get what you call taster ships for basically every single aspect of Star Citizen, I believe, now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. 100% agree.
So I think we've already got a few established ones in there, because I do see this as the Drake Advanced Starter. And I'd say the Reliant Sen, the Nomad, the Hull A, the Herald. There's a lot around like there's 3 just there that I mentioned that are a $90 price point. So it's somewhere between essentially $60 to $90 that these advanced starters are landing. And that's kind of interesting. If you're going to go, because like I would say, let's look at that RSI Salvager. $70 to $90. I can see that in a heartbeat.
Yep. No, 100% agree.
Yeah. And again,
do you think it's going to be more than this because it's RSI and they're a little bit upgraded?
We're starting to see a precedence for it, and the one we're still talking about it a little bit in the background, but the Fortune versus the Vulture. And I kind of brought this up. I swear I brought this up with you, John. Where Misk essentially is high tech and Drake is essentially low tech, but it looks like the Vulture does the munching, but the Fortune does not. But because of the tech levels, they just ironically came out at the same price. So one's got the features, one's got the tech. But at the end of the day,
And I did see someone making comment that, you know, you made a comment the other day. We made a comment the other day about this type of thing, and someone said, "Oh, but Drake uses, you know, shifting, moving seats all the time." And the difference is Drake basically using hydraulics and moving parts, where you see Misk will use lasers and
alien engines
and tractor beams and more of that type of thing. And that's I think is the bigger difference in those.
This is the most complicated ship we've ever seen, with the way the head falls out and you got the little choo-choo train of the thing. Like, as I said to Algared, it should have just pulled out like that. I just thought it would have folded out.
But if it folds out, then what you're doing is you're adding depth to the ship. You're adding by keeping it as a telescoping beam.
You could have had it sideways. There could have been multiple.
Yeah, you could have.
The point I'm trying to make is it's a rather complicated animation to have a choo-choo train, laser head, a bit weird. Needlessly complicated.
Also, Boller in chat, he got a good comparison.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Cutter
that is.
versus Intrepid.
Yeah, that's a really good. No, that is not a good example because the Cutter's a normal starter and the Intrepid's an advanced starter. What would be a fairer comparison? Shit. Even Aegis versus so Avenger versus 300i, right? That's like essentially a medium technology in Aegis versus the 300i. There's a $5 difference, and at that price point you're only ever going to get like $5 differences. And then when you go back to the Cutter, no, that's an advanced starter. So what's the lowest advanced starter? Well, this would be the lowest advanced starter at at $60. So you essentially got this, the Avenger Titan, and then the 300 series. They're all advanced starters, and they all kind of hit fairly close. That would be a better example.
Now, a question that raises for me is, where do you see Reliant? Because I always saw Reliant we always saw Reliant as an advanced starter for science.
Yep. I did bring that up.
And so, you know, and I know that's a bit more expensive, but I think you're probably
it's in that window. It's in the window.
That window of you know, $90 down to
60 to 90 is the window.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I mentioned Reliant Sen, the Nomad, the Herald, the Hull A. I think that might be all of them. I'm probably missing one.
Yeah, and I'd see
you could
Reliant Sen. The next one up would be getting, you know, moving up in 400i type.
Then you got little weird outliers that I wouldn't call them professions. So like 85XM, they're not industrial. I'm just running through all the ships in my head. Hold on. There is one in there that I'm just an Arrow. No, that's 70. Actually, Arrow is an advanced starter. It's a combat advanced starter. I'd also possibly put the Gladius in there as well. Light fighter.
90.
Yep. But it also is in the same tier as the Buccaneer. That's 110. So, yeah, combat's a bit, it breaks the mold a little. Yeah, the Tanner falls in there as well. But again, the whole Reliant series is an advanced starter. But I think what me and Algared are trying to get at and is industrial starters. We're trying to narrow the field. I don't think there's any other Algared. I can't really think of any
at the moment. No, I imagine the RSI one, salvage will be one.
No, that would be a normal start. I was gonna say the Cutter Scout, but no, that would be that's just a normal starter.
I would say the Cutter is a normal starter, and the Cutter Scout you could see that as being an advanced starter for science, but that would mean that the Sen's not.
Yeah.
So I think the Sen is probably still our advanced science starter at the moment.
315p is one. But again, it's not really. Again, it's just really cargo. There's no real industry. Like they're advanced starters, right? But they're not industrial advanced starters.
They're not really leveraging that.
And technically speaking, a Sen is not industry; it's science. But like it's more gameplay that's not generalized, so it's not combat or cargo. That's an advanced starter. That's essentially what we're trying to get at. There's not a lot of them, but like what John was saying that I said earlier, we're probably going to see a lot more of those come down the pipe as those, you know, like we said about the Intrepid. Like I would be really surprised if those, because the Intrepid's an advanced starter, if they don't drop one or two variants at the end of this year. And I could see, what was the two that a bounty hunting variant, and then someone said a bombing variant. Also, I could even see a medical variant. Like it really depends what they want it to be.
The Hawk, would be an advanced starter for bounty hunting.
I'd give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that. Absolutely. Because the Titans one, but then they're not industry, but yeah, they are advanced starters. Yeah, the Hawk would be an advanced starter.
So,
all right. Anything else you want to add there, John, or you've fallen asleep?
No, I haven't fallen asleep. I've made myself a cup of tea and I've got a cigarette. But Chris turned around and said Vulcan is the repair starter. I think we're going to get a much smaller ship to just do touch-ups on ships.
And ironically, Paul said that way back when, and it looks like he's going to be right. It really does. But I'll also argue, I could also argue that could potentially be the SRV.
Yep. And initially, when the Vulcan came out, they did sell it as the advanced data, and we argued that it was a starting point for repair and repair. And Paul said it is a medium-sized ship. There's going to be a smaller one.
Yeah, and I was quite dismissive.
We were both looking at the aspects.
I was
I think
I was quite dismissive at the time, but now he's been proven right, given the interest.
But I think as time goes on, we're seeing those smaller ships come in, and so yeah, Paul was right. Next question. Sol Galaxia, Sol Galaxia basically picks up the. Actually, before we go on, because that Henny Penny's question was talking about the Atlas Geo, I did see in chat earlier people complaining about the cost of the Geo at 45, or indicating that the shame was the cost of the Geo. I actually think the Geo's cost, while I would have liked it to be cheaper, same as I'd like the Atlas to be cheaper, I think $5 more than the Atlas is actually a good price setting for it. It's not beyond the pale.
It does scare me for how much other time sits,
and that's the concern down the track.
Because I think they should all roughly, if the lowest model is 40, I would not want the highest model to be higher than 50.
No,
they are vehicles after all, and they're even smaller than most vehicles. I think it is a very high price for what it was.
I think the Atlas is very high.
I think they should have all been like the Merlins, like $25.
Yeah, they should have. But they should have started at $25 or $20. You know, it should have been like the Merlin ES. The Merlin ES was the what was the Atlas, and then going up, you go up by $5 or $2 or $2.50. So yes, I think they are overpriced, but for the Geo to be higher than the Atlas, I think is fair.
John, do you want to weigh in on the Geo Atlas pricing at all? What's your thoughts there?
Well, I'd never buy one with real money. I'd wait for it in game.
Yeah, John likes to use Monopoly money, Algared.
Yeah.
It was weird when we went. It was weird when we went to the supermarket. Man, he's trying to pay with paper money. It was just. Can't take him anywhere nice.
It was your paper money.
Yeah, that's fine. But, he's mint and he's solid. See, like, what's wrong with it? Anyway.
Yeah, look, I couldn't bring myself to put new money in for the Geo.
Yeah, I think it really treads on the.
Did I? Ooh.
I don't know. We ironically record an episode a couple of weeks ago that's coming out this week, which will be on the Rock DS. We did a Can We Fix It with Paul, and ironically, it's looks like a great time to release one for it. But we go into fixes about what we wanted for the Rock DS, but it also would have been great in hindsight if we'd actually recorded it and then released it this week, because we could have added the Geo into that conversation. So obviously the Geo is going to tread on that Rock DS even more now, and it's just such a smaller footprint, and you can maneuver quite well in it. We were doing. You can talk to this too, John, can't you? I took Piggles out, and while John was mining with the Golem, we went, because we couldn't get any of the Golem rocks to work, I took him down and he was jump jetting all over the place. He's like jumping off mountains and doing like he jumped out of the back of my Spirit from the, the kind of like the back ramp, and I'm in this view looking backwards at this sunset, and I just see this suit go kind of like the Hulk off the thing and just like out into the sunset. This is like it just looks so sick, just like, and it's just like so good. I'm just laughing, and John's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Look at this, it's so cool." And he's just like,
"Yeah, I was watching your stream at the time instead of the rock I was trying to blow up."
Yeah, it was so good. Just this like picture of sunset and just. You had to see it, but there's going to be some crazy things people try to do with those Titan suits because of the way you can kind of essentially land and it doesn't cause any damage. So I can imagine the combat ones when they come out, and there is 100% a dropship coming for that thing. 100%.
I'm glad to confirm. No, I didn't spend any real cash on the Geo.
Okay. Yeah.
I did have to double check because I was at one point putting them both in the basket. And I can't do it. And I double checked and I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a big fan. I think I did talk about that with John. There was a duo pack, or I talked about it with someone where you get the Atlas.
We talked about it last night.
Yeah, it's not good value. Again, I think they really made a mistake with the pricing of those giant suits. They know how popular they are, but again,
which is why the price was so high initially.
Yeah, but a normal casual person comes in and they go, $45. What the hell are you on? Right? Like it's the same price as a starter pack. And $15 more, you get an entire ship in the Golem. Like what? You've just priced normal people out of it.
It's just not. They really should have been. The Atlas really should have been $20 or less. You know, it should have been. That's right, $15.
Well, if Pissball Pete were here, he'd be saying the same thing because he's saying they just would have made it up on volume. I've heard him say about it a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're sold, straight. Even at the time when they came out, like I only bought the Atlas in credits. Had it been cheaper, had it been $20, I'd have bought two with cash.
Yes.
You waste, you lost the market, and that's the problem. CIG.
But ironically, you just proved CIG's point. So you said if they were $20, you would have brought two, but you only brought one. Well, you spent the same amount of money.
No, but I only used credit. I didn't put any new money in.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
I use credit, and I'll melt it when I don't want it, and I'll use it for something I do want.
Yep.
That was just so I could use it.
Yep.
Had it been $20, I'd have put new money in, and I'd probably bought two or three. And that's the thing.
But
I know there are other people who did said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but you can tell them not putting in a CCU. I'm hoping that that's an oversight because we've seen that before too, where they've gone, oh shit, we just forgot to put it in. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It's been 24 hours. Has it been 24 hours, John?
Well, you only checked it 2 hours ago.
No. I checked it when it wasn't 2 hours ago. Algared, that was 12 hours ago we recorded. Over 12 hours, 13 hours ago. Are you okay? No, I'm about to check. No, I didn't check it this morning.
Oh,
I'm going to check. Oh, John's dying.
John's been dying for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, after I think it's
mute your mic, John.
You start to die.
No one wants to hear that shit. Mute your mic.
You sell the dying at a faster rate than they replace. So yeah, after 40 years.
I can't be dying at a faster rate than you. I'm older than you already.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
ATLS, LS as the Atlas. Can I go to the Geo? And when we did this, no, you can't. So, this does happen from time to time, but that's the question I'd be putting out if I was someone in the community. Hey, are you going to give us CCUs to the Geo? Because if you don't ask, they may never give them. But if you actually ask, they may have just forgotten to put them up. That has been a thing that's come up. Where's the CCUs to the Geo? Because that's a $5 CCU. You should be able to buy that technically. There's no reason for that. That's just an oversight or a oopsie because then people will buy them. You know what I mean? Yeah, we've seen that before too.
I still look at that $40 and I cringe. I cannot get behind a mech, just a transport mech.
Yeah.
That is the price of a Aurora ES.
What happens if it comes with its own alien to kill?
It's not an Aurora ES, Algared. It's an Aurora LN with a game package.
I know the ES is $20.
ES is 25. Or was it 20? Oh shit! Yeah, whatever. It's way cheaper. Yeah.
Right. Yes. But it should. It should not be more than a ship that can fly between cities. That's insane.
Absolutely.
It's the same argument we make about vehicles, like vehicles being landlocked and not as good as ships.
Algared,
there's a place for them, but
Algared, I would even argue the Merlin is more powerful than this thing because it's a ship and it can fly. Well, this can't fly. Well, Geo can jetpack, but yeah, crazy.
Well, you said it can't go out of atmosphere.
So Prisoner's saying Aurora LN with a pack is like 60, but no, back in the day it was 45. When it was introduced, it was 45, and I'll double check it now, but I'm pretty sure
it was always the MR that was sold as the pack. Not the LN.
We go, man, I'll just do it live. Sorry, say that again, Aaron.
It was, I believe, the MR that was in the Aurora pack, not the LN. The LN, I believe, was always sold separately in the standalone.
Guess we'll find out. But I remember it being the LN. But the Aurora starter pack, let's find out. $45. So the price is right. It's not 60.
Aurora MR starter pack.
It is the MR. I was wrong. You guys were right.
Oh look.
I think it's like $5.
I hope everybody's recording that for posterity. He's apologising.
Yeah, it's like the 4th time today I've said I'm wrong, John. What are you talking about? I mean, I'm wrong all the time.
It is the 4th time today. It's probably the 3rd time today he's apologised to me and said I was right.
Yeah.
That's probably the bigger one. He's actually acknowledged I was right 3 times today.
I said you were right once. Don't get carried away, old man. Get you two together and it's an old man team up.
And just then, that's 2.
Yeah, whatever.
I increased it by 33%.
Well, okay, let's just change the ship completely. There you go. Mustang. Same problem. Like you get a Mustang.
Yeah, the Mustang Alpha, the base.
It's just like what? Why would I? The same problem. Like why?
Why would I take?
And I get the game. I don't get the game. If it was a Titan suit starter pack, which they're never going to do because you can't go anywhere with it. This is insane because when you take the game off, because let's be honest, the game is valued at $15. So really, that MR is $30.
Yep.
How can you put that ship? That's insane. A ship with
how can you put a ship that can carry cargo and take you between systems as less expensive than a cargo hauling Atlas? It doesn't. It's insane. There's no way you should be selling that, and yet it's sold like hotcakes.
And they knew it. Again, that's the thing.
They knew it would sell, and that's why it was $40. But it should have been. It should have been 20 or 10.
Well, it probably sold. This is the other thing, right? It'll sell well initially, but then it won't sell well down the track. Where if they were $20 across the board for the whole time, they would continue to sell really well. That's the other thing that they're not looking at. They're looking at short-term games, not long-term games, and that's a bit of an issue.
Even the PTV was overpriced. It was $10, I think, 10 or 15.
15. You're right.
That was overpriced. But it should have been, had it been cheaper, they'd have still sold more. And the Atlas should have been significantly cheaper, and it would have just been a constant seller. And the cheaper it was, the more people would have bought.
So Shinoni Trip has an LN pack with Squadron 42 for $45. I knew I'd seen it for $45. I'm not.
Okay, that was obviously a special then.
That was probably when it first came out or whatever. But I just remember Aura LN starter pack for 45. But whatever. That's what I had in my head.
May have been the Squadron 42 pack, where they had it was really pushing Squadron 42 because it was a fighter.
It did say that. I have an LN pack with so it's a Legacy Alpha LN pack for $45, $49 with AU tax. So yeah, that's what I remember, and I'm pretty sure I've got one or had one that I gave to someone else for that. That's how I remember it. Anyway, getting into the weeds, the main point of it is $30 ship, $45 vehicle, and that's insane.
Well, this is even worse because it's a $30 ship and a $40 and $45 walking thing. And
the Atlas was so people were so annoyed at the price they essentially it was in the game by next month. Is that going to happen with the Geo now? Because they've made it 45, it's pissed everyone off, and they're just going to chuck it in the game, proving that you should probably not buy it as well. Still a retroactive thing. I'm sure it'd be a great test of the water now before the release. Change the price to $20 and give everyone $20 credit, or give them. Well, I know you don't want to give them their money back, so that's not going to happen.
No, just give them a second one.
Just give them credit and give them an option to get, or an option to get a second one, or if they have an Atlas, give them a Geo. If they have a Geo, give them an Atlas, and keep the money, and then just make them both $20. Problem solved. And I don't think you'd get a lot of blowback. I think you'd get a lot of praise. You might get a few dickheads that complain, but let's be honest, we'll shut them the hell up for you. Because let's be honest, when you do right by us, we will do right by you. That's how it works.
Well, I think in the long run, it's still a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You've just killed all the long-term sales of that thing. They are dead. And
yeah,
I bet you it was like that. It was just like a spike, and then it's just and it's dead.
Yeah. Like I couldn't bring myself to spend the cash. I thought I may have, because I was looking at, possibly using a discount, but I was looking at doing it with a discount coupon, right?
So the prisoner's saying moot point, but buy it in game anyway. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
but it's about learning from your mistakes. And CIG, I hear this from people all the time. People about CIG marketing, right? And they need to learn how to price things. And I just can't believe after all this time they keep making the same mistakes. And I'm not talking about I want them to talk to me because I'm important. No, I want you to reach out to the community and kind of get a rough idea of what people think this. Like, it can't help to talk to people and kind of roughly figure out what it is. It's not rocket science. You look at an Aurora starter pack and it's $45. You take $15 off of the game, that makes the ship $30. Like, that's not hard rocket science. It cannot be more expensive than something that's clearly a higher value in game. It's not.
Yeah. You keep telling us that things are priced based on components and what they can do. How in anyone's green earth can you claim that the Geo or an Atlas does more than an Aurora?
Chat. Experiment time. Give me the price of the Aurora LN in game. That is the most expensive Aurora. What is the price of the Aurora LN in game? I could do this myself, but I'm going to do it as an exercise. Aurora LN, and then I want the price of the Atlas. Because I would argue, if it's at least half the price, that the Atlas should have only been $15. And I think we can actually, because that's fair. Like, work out what it should have been, right? So, chat, I want to know what the Aurora
says. He's suggesting about 900k in game for the LX.
I remember the Aurora being like 300, but maybe it's gone up.
And he's saying 70k for the Atlas, but he's got question marks after him, so I don't know whether it's established. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And if the price is, a third or a tenth of a price, then it should have been a third or a tenth of the price in cash. And that's probably my biggest frustration. Okay, so 75k for the Atlas and 907k for the LN.
Does that not reinforce what me and Algared are saying? And I know, Prisoner, you're saying it's a bit of a moot point, but even in game, it's not a moot point. Like, that's let's be fair, and we'll make the Atlas 100k, and we'll make the Aurora LN 900. That's a 9 times difference.
Yep.
For mathematical purposes, right? That is insane. And yet they're the same price, and one comes with a package.
The ES is 423k, and
that's $25. So by that math, let's be generous. This thing should be $7.50.
Yeah. Like I said, it should be $10. $10. It should be
$10. Let's be generous. $10, and they would have sold a truckload, an utter truckload. And you don't even. And I'm going to be honest. You could have just made it an LTI Atlas, but you cannot upgrade it. Like, if they're worried about flooding the market with LTI tokens, then just make it so you can't upgrade from it. People still would have bought it. They would have understood. But you got to talk to a CIG. I put out a request, right, to talk to CIG marketing, and the response that came back was, we don't want to talk to you at this time. I have only got to take that as you either hate me or you are scared that what I want to learn from you. I want to understand how you think. I don't want to have a go at you. I want to understand your thinking. I want you to tell me stuff. I don't want to, because the same thing happened with John and Ben. We did not want to suck get out of them. We want to understand their thinking. And that's, if you look at all the stuff we've talked about since John Bennett came along, was the shit they made us understand. We just want to understand. Marketing people, if you are watching this, I hope someone's clipping this and sending it to you. I do not want to harass you. I just want to understand how you think so we can help. We do not want to harass. We want to help. I think we can move on, Algared, unless, because I know you want to move on earlier, but
no, I cannot get past this price. I think in comparison to price, yes, the $5 difference makes sense, but the fact that it is a mech does say it should have been cheaper, and that's my frustration. And when you look at the price in game, it should be $10.
I that's based on math, but I'm going to be honest. The cheapest thing they ever sold was $20. I would have been happy at 20.
PTV 15.
Again, yeah, I can call that too, 15. But I would also say this is probably a step above the PTV because it just drives around. So I'm going to say 20. I'm going to go with the Aurora ES holiday packs that they did at $20. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like $20. I would have been ecstatic at 20, but let's be honest, we've just done the math. It should have been $750. And I was very generous. I even upped the price of the Atlas there, right?
Nope.
So based on very generous math, disappointing. Just a disappointing opportunity. You obviously, as marketing people, must have done math in the background, and you found that it just had to be something different. If that's the case, I want to hear these things. I want to learn how you make these prices, because they do not add up. They just feel like rip-offs, right? And if we feel like we're getting ripped off, the wallet closes. We've seen this before. 2017, like there was a 4-year period where most of us didn't spend any money. It just went. Sorry, you want to make money? It's not by ripping us off. Long story short.
Unfortunately, even though people keep closing their wallets, or the older people run out of cash, sales keep increasing
because new people come along. Yeah,
because new people come along,
and that's their answer is, oh, we'll just cater to the new people. But again, what happens in 6 months' time where little Johnny comes along and he looks at the price of this Atlas and goes, "No way, no, Mum, that don't make no sense."
Yeah, but anyway, next question is from Soul Galaxia, and they say this goes with Jodoma's question: do you think they will change the other mining ships over to the Drake style? No, I think they'll just make them be able to use the same. The refinery ships will just take them both.
I don't think they will. I think they clearly have different systems now. I think you're more like, and John can answer this probably better than I can as well, that like they say in the pods, they're probably going to make a refinery ship from Drake. There might even be two competing. So you know how you've got the Argo pods, you've got the Mist pods that are compatible. Maybe this is a competing system.
Maybe.
So do you even see a ship by Argo that uses Drake pods? Just chucking it out there.
So this is the beta versus VHS
yes
challenge, right? Okay, maybe.
Because you know, do you see a Crusader ship that uses Drake pods, or a Drake? Nobody would license the pods to Drake, so Drake had to make their own. Like, how does that work? And you know the law there. That's a law versus
as I said before, I'm surprised Drake made a mining vehicle. For me, going down the salvage line for Drake is bread and butter for them. But mining is breaking into a new area. So, are they just trying to say Drake industry, and they're just looking at all the different avenues of industry? But yeah, I'd have much rather seen this be a grey cat, or would have preferred it to be a grey cat, and not because Drake shouldn't do the mining, but because I'd like to see the actual mining companies fleshed out before we actually start putting stuff into other companies. So that's my thought there. But anyway.
Sorry, I opened Twitch to look for a raid later. So, paused it, but played sound. Right. Next question, please.
Doc Ox says, less of a question, but here's a hot take prediction. When your Apollo releases, then the Connie rework will occur at the same time.
No, they are fundamentally different frames. I think you are far more likely to see a Connie rework when they come back to the and they have to do that just based on the Phoenix. And we've talked about
the Phoenix is a hot mess.
Yeah, our will almost never shut up about it. But we've talked about it a lot. But for his benefit, we've talked about it a lot. And I think you would agree, Algared, it's the Buccaneer treatment. In short.
Yeah, look, when you first mentioned it, I thought no, but the more I think about it, I think breaking off the Phoenix and putting everything that was supposed to be into a different frame.
Let me put it a slightly different way. Almost like what they're doing with the Paladin to the Valkyrie.
Yeah. Well, look, you don't need to explain to make
no.
the audience. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, but it doesn't need to be a radical different ship. It just needs to be different.
Yeah, I think being a slightly bigger Connie would make sense. And when you saw that type of treatment having to happen to the midsection, where Josh had to make it wider and deeper and taller, and that kind of mucked up the turret angle. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't see that. I know I always used to refer to the Apollo as a cut down, as a Razi, as a cut down Connie. It looked like a shrunk down Connie or a half a Connie, but
I just had a weird left of field thought come into my head that I want to share with you. The Golem mining caterpillar module.
Possible.
Yeah. That's something that
we'll
talk about that later. It just popped in. I went, oh shit.
Refinery module. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
Yeah, all of a sudden it does now, doesn't it? Yeah. All right.
And we know that caterpillar modules are still a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they we checked that with John and Ben. Yeah. Next one, ready.
McNolan. Are the Atlas a good token? No. There you go.
He means LTI token.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, they are good. That's probably all they're good for.
Starting point.
Yeah, they are. That's all they're really good for. Let's be honest, because they're too damn expensive.
I suppose if you are after an LTI token, $45 for the new one. Yes, that's the only reason I can get behind buying one, and I think that's why they sell off initially.
But
just like any cheap ship.
But you will agree with me on this, Algared, because you brought it up. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to find it. This is a much better prospect, and it's this one.
Yeah.
This one. Oh shit! Wrong. Okay, professional. This pack, because you get 20 alpha UEC, you get a skin, you get lifetime insurance, but you get the game. You don't get a game with an Atlas, right? And so very, very rarely do you actually get an LTI game package anymore. You've got to get your game package with just a non-LTI ship. That is the way to go right now.
Now, here's what peeved me off. I put this in the basket. I was going to use a voucher, 20% voucher, and put other stuff in it. The second I put the voucher in, that discount went back to the regular price. And so
that's a bit of a dog move.
Voucher would have only got me a 10% discount.
Yeah, that's a bit of a dog move.
So I thought, man, that sucks.
They should stack.
I would have hoped they stacked, but clearly I was upset.
Yeah, you can only buy one of them, but if you're going to buy an LTI token, buy this one first, because again, like, it's such better value. You're essentially, I'd have to get and sit down here and do the math, right? You got $20 in the alpha UEC, right? So let's math it out, right? So we'll explain.
$20, $15 per game at 35.
Hang on. Oh, man, I can't pull it up on screen, but I'm going to pull up the calculator, right? So we're trying to get under $45. Let me show you how simple this is. We've got $67.50. We've got to now remove $20 for the alpha UEC minus $20. We are already at $47. You see what I mean? I've only got to remove another $2.50, and it's already cheaper. The skin will be. I don't know what the skin is, but the cheaper skin, it's the Rockfall. I believe it's the black one. So the Rockfall is $3. So minus $3. We are already now cheaper. Oh, and by the way, I've now got to take another $15 off for the game. So now this is essentially worth $29.50 if I bring them to the same parallel as the Atlas. Thank you and good night. This is the one you should buy.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And, and and down the track, you can see that you can upgrade this to whatever ship you want, and it will have LTI. It is a really good pack.
The only downside,
this I can get behind. The only downside, you can only buy one.
Well, no, the Golem, not the Golem, the Geo is technically cheaper than the ship because this ship's a $60. Was it a $55 or $60 value? So if you really want to get into, say, a cutter or something like that, then you'd need the Geo. But I'm going to be honest, even at the value, if you can see the value you're getting from this, go to a ship above the Golem. Go to what is that? $5 to an Avenger?
Yep. Yeah, and people are saying in chat, Jotamo's saying, I think people did that with the Intrepid as well. Yeah,
yep,
and the
absolutely.
Intrepid is a more expensive ship from memory.
It was like $70.
Was it?
70, $75. I'd have to check. But again, that didn't have. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it had it didn't come with the game. It was just standalone. These ones with packs we do not see every day. In fact, I think the last time we saw one of these that was not at an AIE was the Nomad, and it was $90. Oh, and ironically came with 20 out for UEC. Someone was saying though, one of the other, I think it was the Pirate pack does also. Let me double check. There was it was in one, and then I'm going to be honest, I didn't actually check it. It only comes with 6 months insurance. I remember that. But no, it's only 1,000. So I'm trying. Someone was saying there was another pack that comes with 20,000, but I wasn't able to find it. Oh yeah.
It's not a pack, but the Intrepid comes with 20,000.
Ah, so they're relying on older packs. Okay, right.
The older Intrepid when it was first released.
Okay.
Same as the.
But again, the last real one that was like this, John, was the Nomad. What's that? 20. That's before 2020, easily.
And I say, when the Nomad was first brought out, it came out with 20k. I don't think it still comes with 20k though. I could be wrong.
But there was a pack there on the screen for a second. There it is. Package $95. Let's have a look. No, only 1,000. So yeah, so but I remember you picked up a couple of them back then. I remember you talking about it.
I do. I've still got them.
Yeah.
I actually had 2 or 3. I gave one. I gave one to my nephew, and at the time I said, "Look, I hate this ship, but it is the best value pack out there at the moment." And then for $10, you can upgrade this ship to a Cutlass because at that time you could do that. And this is even cheaper than that. This is what, $30 cheaper than the Nomad. This is a really, really, really good pack to get.
Cutter one. Someone's saying the Cutter possibly came with 50k. Well, I can check that. I still have that pack in my hangar.
I don't believe it. I can't remember it coming with that much. Because the Cutter was a really nice ship.
I'll let it load up the I have to go back through and delete all these things now. I'll do that after the show. I really like this skin. I do not like the concierge. It's one of the very first concierge skins that I don't like. I think the Coal Heart and the Fault Line are the 2 best. Fault Line, then Coal Heart. What did you think, John? You didn't get really a chance to look at the skins, did you?
Well, I saw the skin you had on it, but
that's the Fault
because
Line.
I'm industrial, I prefer the
yellow,
the original ship.
Yeah. Lazy Donuts. Thank you for the subscribed at tier 1. I appreciate it, mate. Right, has this loaded? Cutter. There it is. So no, it's only 1,000. And that you can see that is a Cutter IE starter pack from 2013. That is when the Cutter dropped. So yeah, it didn't come with 15. Algared, just correct my memory, but they are new icons, are they not? The starting money. So look, I'll see if I can zoom in. They are new icons. I've never seen those before. So lifetime insurance has a new icon, and starting money has a new icon. I've never seen those before.
No, but I think you're right. I think they
are doing website updates.
Well, when I was talking to the guys from who's the Canadian?
Benoit?
Turbulent.
Benoit?
I was talking to guys, not Benoit. I don't think I've spoken to Benoit.
Oh.
but I was speaking to developers from Turbulent, and I was talking about the web page. And I was saying that being part of CIG now was really, really good because they actually had access to the web page all the time. Whereas in the past, when they brought out a new ship, they had to create a page specifically for that ship and then import it. Now they can actually get behind the scenes and do stuff, and they were loving that.
Thinking Algared, I'm just sitting here realizing I might have too many CCUs.
Just a few.
You can give some away.
Well, I did talk about that with John actually last night. Thank you for reminding me, John, because I do have these, and I don't know what I should do with them. And I know you've got a couple of them too. Hang on, I'll zoom out again. What happened? No, go back. Oh, I'm gonna have to reload it again. That's it. Wait. Yeah, so I've got these three that, and I think you've got a couple of them too, but I don't know if I should sell them off or what I should do with them because they cost me $25, but you can only go to a Polaris. There's nothing you can go to above a Polaris.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's a $25. They multiplied in value by 10 times. They cost $25 and they're worth $250. That's insane. So I can't bring myself to melt them because I'm never going to need them. But yeah, maybe I don't know. What's the usual going rate? So it's usually at half. If it's worth $250, you'd sell for $175 or whatever. But, no.
125.
Yeah, 125. Sorry, my brain not working today. But yeah, I think that's. So if you know anyone that wants one, reach out. I know Algared's got a couple as well. But we could also give one away as a giveaway. I'm happy to do that shit as well. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Algared?
I've got a quick. I have a quick question, if you don't mind. You know, I've got the Intrepid, as you know, and it comes with 20k. Now, if I upgrade that to another ship, do I keep the 20k?
Yes, we will answer that. That's a really good one. Everything that is so I've got that same pack, John. So just give me a second to bring it up. It is this one. So is this the same pack that you've got, John? With the Nocturne...
Yeah, the LTI 20k and...
Again! No, that's still... I think I'm holding the wrong... That's what's good. So it's this one. I want to reset the zoom. Is it Alt? No, it is not Alt. It must be Control. Oh, holding Alt, not Control. I am an idiot. Apologies. Yep, doing it live.
What's your another apology?
Because I'm stuffing it up and everyone's watching me stuff up. They're having buckets of fun watching me stuff it all up, John. Thanks. Right.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Always there for more support.
Yep.
Right. So, not the control key. It's the. No, it's the control. Oh my God, John, I did it again. What the hell is wrong with me? It's the control key. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is like watching an old man fall apart. Turn it into you two. You're having a bad...
no, we're not that bad.
You're rubbing off me in all the wrong ways. Right. Right. So there we go. Right, now you can see the whole pack. So essentially everything that are in those items or essentially in this fold-out menu thing, they will always stay with a pack, right? And if you have the insurance, so for example, if I go look at my Polaris, this will be another example, right? Is this? Yeah. So if you look at this Polaris, you can see that it essentially has multiple insurances on it, but it also has a lifetime insurance. So whatever is greater will take over. So the lifetime is the top. But look at all the items I grabbed along the way from CCUs that I applied. So I got a Mercury Star Runner skin and things like that. It's exactly the same. If you go back to your Intrepid skin, they would just apply. And I'm trying to think of, I know I've got other ones. I've even got ones that I gave away to friends and stuff. Like there was one that I had that killed me now was the Scarlet skin for the X1. I turned that into a ship that I gave to a friend and they have the Scarlet skin and I don't. And it was a big mistake, but you know, you live with your mistake. I'm trying to think of another ship. that I've upgraded. I think I upgraded a Marky Mark and a CL. Have a look. Ship Mark II. So here you go. Here's another one. That was a vulture, and so you can see there it comes with the vulture best in skin, but it's also got multiple insurances that landed on it as well. Here's another one, John. I think I've proved my point, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew about LTI always being going over the top of everything else you got in there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure about the money, so thank you.
Yeah, so I don't have it there on. I didn't get multiple insurances on.
Yep.
But you get the point. Anything that it just accumulates essentially in the item, so you can get some rare CCUs all the way along, and keep the skins essentially that the CCUs give you and stuff like that. So I do have. Go ahead.
And
Spike would like to know what's the add-on you've got in your anger.
The Explorer, Star Citizen Explorer.
Yeah, so it's Explorer, but you take the E off. So just type in Star Citizen Explorer, but take off the first E. So it's like X. It's like X. Yeah, it's like Explorer, but with an X. So all these CCUs I've got here, John, like this. See this Best in Show Mercury Star Runner paint? I could sell these to people or give these to people, and they would then allow them to get them older Best in Show skins. Stuff like that. I've even got where's that one I know that John really wants? So I'll just tease him. I'll tease him. This one here, what John wants. Now, hey, it doesn't have the image, but can you tell what the value is there, Algared? I know you can. I don't think anyone else was recognized besides me. It's in the name right here. Can you see that?
Yep.
AINE 2950. Do you want to tell people what that means? If you don't, I'll tell them if it's too vague for you, because I know it's vague.
It is vague. 2950. I'm trying to remember.
That is if I go back up here. It was up there before. So if I just type in Best in Show again, it should have an image that looks like this.
All right. Yep.
So now you know what it is, right? It's the Cutlass white, black, and gold skin. And they are rare. They're quite rare. They're very expensive now. But essentially, that's a $5 CCU that I picked up on a whim in case I ever wanted it. But I could now apply that into a chain, and I'd get the black and gold skin for a Cutlass.
Yep.
But John wants it because he wants the black and gold skin for his Cutlass.
Okay. All right. Next question.
What hoops do I make John jump through? Let me know in chat.
None.
Father and Son Gaming says, mentions CitizenCon. There was a post by Tyler that we will get information about CitizenCon soon.
Yeah.
What do you guess where CitizenCon will be, or do you think it'll be a virtual one like a Corona time because we're too busy with releases? If I was guessing for this, if they're running a CitizenCon this year, I would guess the US.
We had people trying to tell
Germany.
us that they've heard rumors of Frankfurt and Germany, but the status quo has always been North America, Europe, North America, Europe. And then on top of that, it alternated between the cities. So it was essentially Austin, then Manchester, then LA, then Frankfurt, and then back to Austin, that type of thing. So it was not only did it go between the two continents, it also went between the two cities of that location. And I think we can agree now, Algared, with LA going dodo, it's probably going to be Montreal, Austin, and still be Frankfurt, Manchester. But the other thing you and I also learned is there's a huge push to get as many people to Manchester as possible. I think you'll probably find you're going to see a lot more specifically in Manchester.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing a different city that you do Frankfurt. Again, just because of that ease of getting everyone there.
Yeah, well, it's cheaper to bring people from Frankfurt to Manchester than all the people from Manchester to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And when we were there, we had people traveling from all over to go there. So
and it's cheaper to get people from Manchester to Frankfurt than it is to get people from Manchester to Austin. Or
but by the same token, you've got to bring less CIG people from Frankfurt to Manchester. So that's what I'm trying to get at. When there's more people Before they were kind of more spread out. We know they're trying to put more into Manchester. I think
now that they're trying to bring pull everyone to Manchester,
and it also
and centralize more.
The advantage of that too is then they can refine who they work with and the quality of the service. Well, let's be honest, the stuff at Manchester was not that great. We had issues ourselves, but obviously year after year they will learn how to deal with those people and pull them into line, and the services will get better and better. But Manchester is very expensive, I do agree, but it's not for CIG because they live there.
They live there, and they get the I imagine they still get the government cuts because the city's trying to encourage people to be in that area. And
so Carlos R72 is saying that, but I agree with you, man. Try how expensive it is from Tasmania, Australia, and then we can argue. Right, 29-hour flight time. Like it doesn't matter where it is; it's going to cost a shit ton for anyone to go there.
But cheap lodgings for some.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest. Like, I learned a lot by going CitizenCon. It was very valuable for me and Algared as content creators, and I'm not talking about the con. I'm talking about the people we talked to, all these things for years that we had speculated on. It was invaluable for me and Algared as Inforunners, right? It was worth it for that alone. But I don't think I needed to go for the convention. It was actually everything but the convention that was really interesting, right? And what I actually learned is you're almost better to stay home for CitizenCon. Like if you lived in Manchester or England, right, and they did CitizenCon this year there, right, my suggestion would be to go up there and stay there the week before and not actually go to the convention, go home and watch the convention at home. That is how I would save my money, believe it or not, if I lived in England.
I would go there. I'd go to the Bar Citizens beforehand.
They were the best parts.
Bar Citizen was the best part.
Yeah.
The last Bar Citizen was crap because it was just so crowded.
Too many people.
Too many people, and you couldn't move.
And because they put them in
and in that sense, because it was crap.
Yeah, but they also put them in nightclubs, and the nightclubs insisted on playing really loud music when all you want to do is talk. So again, I reckon they would have been far better just to hire out a hall or a stadium or whatever you want to call it, and just get an alcoholic license for the night. That would have been how I would have done it, and just and get it set up yourself. Because again,
that first one, which is basically a restaurant.
It was amazing.
Coffee house restaurant place. Just sitting in the back. The music was fairly low.
You could talk and eat.
You could talk. You could eat. It was great.
Wasn't expensive.
The last one it was noisy. You had to yell to be heard.
Yeah.
It was horrid. Now it could also be the fact that at that point in the week I was feeling pretty poorly, health wise. But just that quiet, being able to talk to people was a godsend. And that first one was also 15 backers and 30 odd staff. It was.
But I think no matter what you kind of go for, I think CitizenCon itself is the lowest draw card, to be honest, because again, me and Algared kind of realized after doing it, we wouldn't actually watch the panels anymore. We would just get the person from home. We could have let Paul cover that, and we should have been out talking to devs and all that. We would have learned so much more. So if we go next time, it's going to be, or another time, it is going to be radically different from what we. But you had to go and learn through our failures.
And the reason we say that is we found that when you're in the panel, when you're in the stadium, there's a great atmosphere, but you do miss so much. You either get distracted by the people behind you, or in front of you, or beside you. So that takes away. Whereas when you're watching on screen, you can actually turn off other people and pay attention to what's going on. Now,
not to be attacked.
So you get a greater ability to absorb that information. But going outside into the back, mixing with people, that I think is. And it's that social aspect that actually makes the CitizenCon really good as well. So they're meeting with the devs, meeting with the other players. But
all right, we've got 2 minutes left, Algared. I'm going into rapid fire mode. I'll read you answer. Here we go. Volta, or Father and Son, says, with the Banu and the creations in the game, with all the collectibles, we see a lot of old school subflare and Voyager store items. Do you think this will get the stuffs? Oh, do you think we'll be able to get those subflares? That's something I never thought of.
I think so, because you'll
That'd
be
be
able to buy them.
sick.
You'll be able to do missions or things to trade them with him, and that may be how we
Possibly.
get our stuff back.
Possibly.
Well. There you go.
Right. Shempasta asks, what do the Valkars eat on Daymar? A moon with no fauna. They eat humans.
Yeah, human.
Humans, as the Ferengi would say. Citizen Dancer says, question, are we getting the Ironclad at DefenseCon? Cross his fingers. That is my speculation. I think we are far more likely to get that than the Perseus. Algared, I don't quite remember what you said.
I think that's a likelihood.
Would you say Perseus, or would you say Ironclad over Perseus, though? More than likely get the Ironclad than the Perseus at CitizenCon.
Given that we know that the Ironclad had been concepted 6 months before John was even asked about it, my view would be yes.
And the Ironclad, and we don't have the exact starting date of the Perseus. And even if it was where the galaxy used to be, that is, you do the math, that is the end of the year, not the middle of this year within.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that would be my argument. We don't know when the Perseus started, but it's more likely to be the end of the year. Whereas we've got a fair idea for the Ironclad. Could still be wrong, but that's our thought.
This is Ninja. These are not rapid fire. I'm going to go quicker. If CIG was willing to sell one previously sold exclusive item that is not currently available, what would you ask them to put on the pledge store? Exe would get the Scythe. Algared would already has all the exclusives, but he can answer. There is one item that you're after. He wants the starting Kickstarter items that I've got. Like the RSI prototype flight suit would be Algared's, I think. Would that be up there for you?
No, I want the jump point coordinates.
Oh, no, you can't. No, I'll give them to you. You give me a Scythe, I'll give you the coordinates. That sounds like a fair trade.
I can't give you a Scythe.
I will take you there then, and then you'll have the coordinates. There we go. Right.
I still can't give you a Scythe.
We will twist arms. That's fine. I'm just teasing. Right. Gnome says, do we think that Starfarer rework may turn into do more than just a fuel refinery? I think if you're asking if essentially is doing what they're going to do with the Paladin and the Valkyrie, yeah, a really high chance that we may get some Starfarer variants. I think that would be a very missed opportunity if they did not, and I think Algared, you would agree, yeah?
Absolutely. We know they want to work on the Starfarer. To go back to Sangraper's question, which you missed, and deliberately so. That's okay.
No,
has Wicklow made an offer to me about cat girls? And the answer's no.
He's made offers to me though, like because I'm under the table, man. Man, so many offers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you don't have access to them because you.
What do you mean? I don't have access. I've got access to you. Of course, I got access to cat girls.
I
only take a lot. Me. And Jax,
obviously been taking too much Evercrack.
They're big fans of Jax. He smoozes them all the time. Right. Shinobi Chip says, do you think that we'll finally see the Briefing Room episode 2 this year? No. No. Right up there with Pillow Talk episode, whatever it was as well. Yeah. Shinobi Chip says, I'm not into mining, but I did try my hand at it for supply or die. The fact that you need a cargo ship to actually finish the refinery job and cart just to send it to the station is crazy. Yeah, again, you really do need... but I think it's showing the gap in not having, say, something like the Expanse. Again, the whole game is pushing you to work together. And once you kind of realize this, all this shit we've been saying about big ships and people saying it's not going to be a thing, if you've got to work together in small ships and you're getting small outcomes, why wouldn't you band together and do that in a big ship and get big outcomes? It's just ridiculous.
The other thing to remember, even with the Expanse, when it first came out, they talked about refining in an Expanse and then transferring it to your Starfarer or your cargo ship and taking it to sail. Then they're talking about needing a cargo ship to take it.
They even went back to the Starfarer and added the ports for those pods, remember?
And also what he asked about was, why can't you send it to your storage and not just to a ship?
Because they just haven't gone back and done that, and it is annoying. Yep. Also, the same thing when we were doing the Geo, John, like I was asking you last night, was that I couldn't figure out how to send the rocks off the Geo to the refinery. You've just got to sell them outright because they haven't added that. So obviously, when they come back to work on the Expanse or whatever, we'll probably get sweeping changes to refineries. But yeah, they have aged not so well at the moment. Drifter Actual says, what changes do you see happening to the Golem and or Prospector? I don't see the price gap working with the Prospector only having a living space in the Golem as a helix head, essentially. I think it's a bit of tech level stuff. I think you could at least account for it being 60 rather than 90 being the manufacturer. I think the best person to ask about that question would be John. John, can you tell me why you think why is the Golem so much cheaper than the Prospector?
Because it hasn't got living quarters, basically.
And he's saying, and in the question he literally says, I don't think that's enough. I think it's the bespoke laser.
I think it comes down to the bespoke laser and the fact that the components are different. So one shield versus
Thank you, John Citizen's replacement.
No worries.
He is right on there. The bespoke laser.
He is right. I'm just teasing him.
Good.
I'm just teasing him.
We actually broke an 11K rock with no problem whatsoever with the laser on the.
I lied then. I said 14K earlier, so it was only 11. Was it? Right.
The 11 was the biggest. I couldn't find that 14K one again to try it.
But I think that's a problem. Like that's where the price difference comes. Of the wider the gap, the more the components are going to be crap. So it's going to be, it's got less components. It'll like one shield versus two, and you've got to be really close to the rock to break it. You explode, you blow that rock up, the damage to your ship is going to be more severe, and that's the.
Well, actually, you're wrong there because you're no closer with the Golem than you are if you're using the helix on the Prospector.
It means because it's a very volatile laser, so it is a lot like the helix. And again, when rocks were breaking apart, they do tend to move further apart than like there's rocks you can make on the Prospector, and they almost just sit there as the original rock.
Yep.
And then this thing, you do it, and they were going quite far out in all directions.
I know. In the past, when I've gone mining, is if I got it right in the middle, the rocks often just went. But if I was way on the edge, the gap was between them was a lot more pronounced.
Yeah, I've never.
It's down to skill level.
Have you ever tested that, John? I don't think it's got anything to do with the placement of the laser, does it? It's just really how overcharged it is, isn't it? And the laser type.
But if I keep it in the middle of a green.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant in the middle of the rock, like you were pointing the laser at the middle of the rock. Yeah.
John, that's got nothing to do with where you keep it in the green.
Yeah.
Right. It all depends on what you're mining at the time.
All right, five questions less. Let's get these ones out. So with the release of the price of the Golem versus the Prospector, does the show CIG has just focused on small ship sales with higher volume versus larger, more expensive ships? I think it's just them wanting to get more people into the professions that they have. I think knowing this RSI salvage is coming. Again, there's rumors of the Asgard being a refueler. There's a bunch of different rumors that are floating around. But again, I would be not surprised at all when we see another refueling ship, because again, the only ship that has that gameplay is the Starfarer, and it's a hot mess. Why wouldn't you add that right now with Pyro being there? It makes a lot of sense to bring a ship out that does that. Base building, I think that's going to hit like a truck. I don't think we're just going to see the build. I think in rapid succession. So they've already sold the build. Why the hell wouldn't they be building a starter ship? Right. Oh, wow. Algared. Advanced starter from Argo, a base builder. Bang. Done. Thanks for coming. Print money. Like, what would you call it? Well,
I don't think of an Argo as a base builder.
If they steal mine and Grimm's name for the craft, I'll be really pissed off. Ours is the Argo CRFT, the Argo craft. Anyway, because it's a fabricator. Anyway, so let's see that right. So, Soul Scream 78 says, when the purchase releases and the prices increase, will my CCU from the Carrick have another charge? Or it's just the buyback.
No.
As long as you have it in your hangar, it will essentially increase in value, but you won't have to pay any extra. But if it's in your buyback, you'll have to pay extra to get it back.
Yep.
Chris says, in your conversations with Ben and John, did you get any idea of how marketing price ships? No, because they don't do marketing, and that's why we want to talk to marketing so we can understand it. Because being a little bit in the dark, I feel like I'm almost abusing them. I don't want to do that. I just want to understand why, because then I can explain it. Because clearly we're not the only one that get frustrated at this price, right? At a $45 or $40 Atlas, whatever you want to call it. So understanding something allows you, once you understand it, you don't get pissed off about it as much.
And we look at the in-game prices, and that
God,
if the in-game prices matched the real world prices, it wouldn't be as big a deal.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're so different.
All right, I just got cat pulled to death. Man.
Well, he's been licking himself. So yeah, so it's more. It's certainly not the John and the ship team. Josh Raffensberger is in the past. CIG states that LTI was worth $15. So is that the case? Shouldn't it be cheapest?
No, it's worth
Shouldn't
15.
that be the cheapest?
It's worth 15.
Anything can be upgraded. I didn't think that ever said LTI was worth $15.
We worked out the math on it, Algared, because of there were packages in the past that had LTI and didn't have LTI, and it worked out to be roughly $15. That is the correct math.
So I don't think CIG have actually said it, but people have worked it out.
Yes.
Again, it's marketing, and who knows what marketing you're doing, because we don't.
Brought these on special.
Red Snare has a question.
Yep. We're down to two people.
Do you think the refinery module on the Galaxy will now be designed to accept both styles of mining bag, as the Golem could fit in the Galaxy hangar, which makes it a great combo?
Fortunately, I think that the way it's going is it's like Drake is going to be the because one of the things Paul said, and Algared can probably talk to this a lot more than I can because it's a lore thing. Apparently, according to Paul, I was watching a little stream that he was doing. Apparently, Misk and Drake absolutely despise each other.
I can believe that.
Oh, so you don't
that's why they brought the Golem in then, just to eat into their profits.
Yep.
I could see Intergalactic also hating Drake, or hating because I think it was Drake that released the documents that said they left and had plans, but they only planned to leave if their sales were being affected by the piracy, and they made their move after a major load got ripped off. So yeah, interesting.
Can you do that over your face as well, X, just to see if it'll improve it?
No, pull my whole beard off. Like you waxing your legs.
And the last
you'll get you know it, because I got nicer legs than you.
Oh, shut up.
And the last, that's because you go walking a lot.
No, that's because he wears fishnet stockings all the time.
Yeah, but they suit me.
Thought. That's a scary thought. That's even scarier. Alpa
Algared trying to get your legs out of his mind. Look, he's still.
Yeah, but X, you promised not to tell anybody about that.
Yeah.
Night that we spent together.
Oh yeah. I'll remember it forever.
Yeah, it's now etched in my brain as a night, as a horror scene. Hi, I have a Polaris and BMM in the fleet, and another BMM.
No, it's crazy.
John,
so
shut
good.
up. X, be quiet. See what I have to put up with. See what I have to put up with.
So good.
I have to put up with this all the time.
Oh, well, I remember before you go anywhere else, Al.
Yeah.
He's now got the menu for cookies, which you enjoyed so much.
Oh yeah. I got the recipe. I'll send it through.
Recipe?
Yeah. Diane sent it through.
They were good.
Diane sent through the cookie recipe. Yeah.
Sent the cookies.
Yeah. I wanted to do it like a WhatsApp stream with me and teach me how to cook them. I think that'd be fun.
Yep. No, when I was dying with COVID, Diane gave me a bag of cookies. Lasted me a day.
So good though. He's like, oh shit! I've had
And it was a big bag of cookies, and it only lasted him a day.
Yeah,
he wasn't that bad then.
Yeah. All right.
I was bored in the hotel.
Yeah.
Bored. Okay. Alpa Cavalacci says, Hi, I have a Polaris and BMM in the fleet and another BMM. What do you think? 2 Polaris or 2 BMM? I have upgrades to the BMM, from the BMM to Polaris. Thank you. That's kind of to fix my fleet. So
I think that is, but yeah, I also think that's potentially wait to another ship that's in there that you want.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick between 2 Polarises and 2 BMM, the response that Algared would make, as I would make, is which one do you prefer? Because it's your fleet. Like, you might be more into cargo or more into combat. I can't answer that. You have to answer that.
What do you want to do in the verse? What are the 3 professions you want to do? And then from that, we've been developing. And you know, if you, like X said, if you say, I'm into being a merchant and cargo hauling, then BMM's the avenue you go. If you say I'm into...
Well, it's a much simpler answer. Get one of each.
No, he's already got...
He's already got one of each.
The question is, do I upgrade my second BMM to a Polaris or keep the second BMM? And it really comes down to...
Is it 650 at the moment? Yes. 650?
I think so.
Odyssey would be a potential one. A2 would be a potential one. But I think you're going to find that there are other capitals that come down the line, so just sit on it.
My thought would be melt one, get an Endeavour, and then use your credits for other stuff. That's another option. You know, it really comes down to what you're looking forward in the game.
Depends what the value is.
Another option.
I'd probably say the reason I also bring up the Odyssey is the Odyssey is probably going to come out a lot after the Banu, because obviously I actually have a theory. One of the reasons they want to get the Banu out is so essentially they can stop all these upgrading shit that people are doing. And so basically, because that means they have to buy the ship all over again. I've been theorizing this for a while, but again, if you jump off to the Odyssey, when it jumps above, then you're going to have more options from the Odyssey off to other things. As
Dub Coyote says, there's no rush.
No rush.
There's no rush at this point in time, so wait and see.
Well, again, as I said, you could also get a banner mention to Odyssey CCU and just sit on it too. Because you can reactively go backwards. That's the cool thing about the way CCUs work. If you know, it might feel like you're losing value, but it's not losing value in that place in time, and that place in time is there frozen. You're fine. It's perceived value that you're losing.
So you know, looking at what you want to do, what you've got. Is there something that comes along that really tickles your fancy? You've got a CCU already from the BMM to a Polaris. That means you can just sit on it. And you can get a second CCU to something else and pivot. So, yeah, wait and see.
All right.
See which one fits where you want need.
With that, then, we're going to be raiding our friend Expat Brat. She is back from holiday. So we're going to go over there and raid her. We'll have an episode this weekend on the Geo and the Golem recorded. I will try and get those out. We might even have to kick the Can We Fix It down the road, but we'll get those out to you guys this weekend. Me and Algared will do the Geo, and probably me and John will do the Golem. Thank you for joining us, John. Is there anything you want to add before we kick you to the curb?
Well, what I would like people to do on watching on YouTube is to click that like button. Just for the sake of these two, because they are struggling a lot, as you can see at their ages.
Thanks, John.
Because we're so young.
John's just jealous of our beauty, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Your beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got a face only your mother can love.
Yeah, and she does. Thank you very much. All right. So Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch. Let Expat know that we love her very much, and good hanging out with her. CitizenCon. Good to have her back. All right. Bye. We'll be listening. We listen every time. So if you don't send a message, we'll know. All right. Bye-bye. And they're gone. All right. Let's have a quick listen. Probably won't even realize she's in character.
Of course she is.
Welcome in, Inforunners.
Oh, there we go.
I have stumbled upon a German organization. They opened up the big hole in the floor.
Ooh.
I've been mining it for the last little while now. How's life in talking about ships and things?
Right. We've been good. We'll catch up with it. I did catch up with her the week, but we'll catch up with it again.
Good to be back in Star Citizen.
Yeah. All right, we'll love her and leave her. Thank you for that, expat. We'll catch you soon. All right, Algared. Yes. Anything we want to add? I think we're kind of good. We're good, I think. Yeah.
No, like, subscribe, hit that bell, and thank you for the people who go the extra mile on Patreon.
Yeah. Cool. Doing my job. Good to see. I'm gonna be out of a job soon. I'll be able to take over soon, Algared. It'll be good. Right. With that, then, Voice in the Void has been John Citizen. Say goodbye, John.
So say goodbye, John.
Goodbye, John.
Good boy. Good boy.
He's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
Yes, Citizen. Have a good week, everyone.
Oh, you forgot the draw.
Oh shit! Right, yeah, we'll come back just for that. We did forget the draw. Let's do that real quick. Professionally, indeed. Everyone's left. It's great. I love it. Half the Twitch people are gone, but we are gonna do the draw because we completely forgot it, so we can just say we did it.
Simon said, who was it said? Red Samurai.
Yeah.
Red Samurai, you should have done it earlier.
Yeah. So everyone that left, sucked in, you missed out. Fine. What am I looking for? I am looking for my bookmarks. I am looking. Hang on, I'm having trouble here. This will go. Yep, got that one, and I want the generate new random comment pick up this one, and then
there you go. Our backers are seeming to indicate that or our viewers are seeming to indicate they were hoping that we'd forget.
Right. Yeah. Typical bastards. Not help.
Yeah. No,
what was it? It was
the morph one.
It is the morph one, right? Right, here we go. Doing the comment picker. Everyone know what it is? See, here we go. Jimmy3759. I can actually on YouTube it says definitely the White Ranger since it makes fun. Oh yeah, because Morph is a Power Ranger. Right. That's
and that was the question I think you asked people to say.
Yes, I did.
Power Ranger would he be?
No.
Jimmy is there. Jimmy says yes.
Oh wait, you're in chat?
Is that you, Jimmy, in chat?
Algared for myself on Discord. Right. Yeah.
Is that the same Jimmy?
If that's you, Jimmy, basically just reach out to myself or Algared on Discord and we will get that off to you. Me preferably, because I'm the one that's got it. But if you like to talk to Algared and hate my guts, then talk to Algared. And he'll just go, well, you guys go talk to Execute anyway, suck shit. Anyway, so if
well, it depends on where we've got to get.
All right, Jimmy, if that is you, yeah, please reach out. It does have the same icon. He does have the same icon. So yeah, Jimmy, congrats, man. Reach out and I'll get the hit me on Discord right now and I can shoot off to you in the next couple of minutes. All right, with that then, you know all the shit we did before. Subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Turn off. Algared's annoying me. Get off, piss off. All right, have a good weekend, everyone. Bye, bye, bye.
We're out of here. Goodbye.
Can't take you